Sports.
Back home at Chase Field, last chance for D-backs fans to see their ball club in 2014. It's a big series here with the St. Louis Cardinals, who come in trying to hold off the Pirates for the NL Central title. Already a dramatic day in D-backs history with sweeping changes made today, both in the front office and in the dugout. The Cardinals are in for the final 3 games of the year here on Fox Sports Arizona. Good evening from Chase Field. Welcome to the broadcast. Steve Berthume along the way. Bob Brentley is off tonight. Tom Candiotti has joined us here from the radio side on what has already been a very busy day here at Chase Field. Earlier today, the Diamondbacks named Dave Stewart their new Senior Vice President and General Manager, and DeJohn Watson, Senior Vice President of Baseball Operations. Here they are.
What I can tell you, the media and the public, the people that are watching this, is I've never been away from the game. I'm a baseball guy. I'm a baseball man. I'm a baseball man through and through. I have very, very clear ideas of what champions look like and how champions play. And that is what I'm expecting from this organization and from the players inside this organization.
I don't see this as a complete rebuild. I think we had some bad health, a little bad luck. This club is going to be better than most people are thinking they're going to be going into next year. So I'm excited about coming back into spring training. I'm excited about this upcoming winter and going out and trying to find upgraded talent to add to what we currently have in-house.
And so, Candy, joining the Diamondbacks in-house, Dave Stewart and DeJohn Watson. The new front office is in place by the end of the season, which is what Tony La Russa said he wanted.
Yeah, 2 great baseball guys. They both bring something a little bit different to the table. Dave Stewart, the key words there, champion. I love that. You know, he preaches what he says. He talks about being a champion. He was a champion, and he expects guys down there to be champions, and I think that's a great sign.
As we mentioned, changes not only in the front office but in the dugout. Before the new front office was introduced here today, Chief Baseball Officer Tony La Russa said that manager Kirk Gibson and bench coach Alan Trammell have been relieved of their duties.
It's really not a reflection on them. I know that sounds a little hollow, but I'm always sincere when I'm serious. It's just the situation is unfair enough to where the losses piled up, but we are making a fresh start, and it made sense in the end to start fresh with the manager, and he and Alan are so close that we do that with Alan as well.
And Candy, Kirk Gibson is not here this weekend. Alan Trammell will manage the Diamondbacks for the final 3 games.
Yeah, you know, we talk about Gibby. Let's go back to someone that was always very prepared. You know, I love watching him during batting practice. You don't really know what goes on behind the doors back there, but watching him, the way he communicated to all the players out there, he'd go to center field, he'd go to left field, he'd go to right field, he'd talk to the pitchers, he'd talk to everybody out there. So, you know, unfortunately, you know, when you get signed as a manager, someday you're probably going to get fired as a manager, and it's unfortunate for Kirk Gibson.
Well, a dramatic day certainly here in D-backs history. A big series for the St. Louis Cardinals. They need to hold off the Pittsburgh Pirates to win the NL Central. All the right moves. The moves are underway here at Chase Field. More on that when we come back.
Louis Cardinals fans on hand for the Diamondbacks' final home stand of the season. Of course, the Cardinals have already locked up a playoff spot and are trying to wrap up a second straight NL Central title. Meantime, the D-backs are dealing with a lot of change. After 353 career wins, manager Kurt Gibson's run is done. Reaction from the clubhouse.
I feel kind of sad, to be honest, because he gave me a lot of opportunity to play. When you get someone that even when you're doing bad, he just keep encouraging you to do better, and he shows you that he trusts you, you feel really good. So I feel bad that he's no longer here, but I'm really grateful to him, and of course I'm going to remember him. He's a good guy.
You know, I was shocked a little bit. I know him and Tony have a good relationship, and that Tony had been working with him on, you know, I guess improving as a manager, and you know, Gibby was relaying a lot of the stuff that he was hearing and trying to make us better as a team. So I think it caught us off guard a little bit, especially with some time left in the season.
A lot of the players told me today that they're thankful that Alan Trammell is staying on to manage the final series of the season, just to keep an even keel for everybody. And of course, it will help the team relish that role of spoiler against the St. Louis Cardinals. Ahead, Steve Berthume and Tom Candiotti have the call. Pop the popcorn, get it ready. D-backs baseball is next on Fox Sports Arizona.
Sure.
Okay. Yep. It's camera 4. Gotcha.
Candy, those are supposed to be one program and one ISO for you if you want it. He's 0-4 in his previous 6 starts.
Yeah, he's really struggled. Even after the All-Star break, Cahill has not pitched that well. And when you look at him and you try to analyze what he does well and what he hasn't done well, what he needs to improve on, to me it's his fastball command, location of it. If he gets that, he's got a good breaking ball, he's got a good changeup, but he's got to get ahead with that fastball, cut those walks down, and then pitch ahead.
The most important series of the season for the St. Louis Cardinals. They have already clinched a postseason spot, yes, but they begin playing tonight, leading the National League Central by only 1 game over the Pirates with 3 to play. Pittsburgh is at Cincinnati, and the Pirates are winning that ball game right now as Matt Carpenter steps in, so they are right on St. Louis's heels here heading into the final weekend of the season. 1-1 to Carpenter. An all-star this year for the 2nd season in a row, 272 on the year.
Well, this is the guy the Cardinals really need to get going. He gets on base, he can create some havoc out there.
So a little roller to second. Nick Ahmed is in there for the D-backs at second base tonight, and that's the first out. Let's take a look at the lineup for Mike Matheny, St. Louis Cardinals.
Well, you got Matt Carpenter leading off. You just saw him ground out the second. John Jay, Matt Holliday, Matt Adams, the big first baseman. Johnny Peralta has been struggling a little bit playing shortstop. Yadier Molina, the perennial all-star. Randall Grichuk out in right field, a huge prospect that they have. Colton Wong at second base, and pitching Michael Wacha.
John Jay. Jake Lamb a step or two in on the grass at third for the speedy Jay, who's had a nice bounce back season at .302 on the year and 3 homers. He's had a very good second half offensively. Fists one down the left field line, and that lands in foul territory, fortunately for the Diamondbacks, and it's 0-2 on Jay.
That's a good sign with Cahill now getting ahead in the count, cutting his walks down. His walk rate this year, almost 4.5 walks per 9 innings. That is an awful lot of walks. 8
strikeouts without a walk in his previous start. That was last Saturday at Coors Field, but he was hit hard by the Rockies. 5 runs all earned. 10 hits in only 5 innings. You see the mark, 0-4 in his last 6 with an ERA near 9.5.
And again, I think a lot of it for Trevor Cahill is keeping himself in pitchers' counts and then getting the hitters to hit the pitch he wants them to hit. Wastes that fastball up in the zone. Once he gets ahead, he's got an excellent curveball, but I think his second best pitch to me is his changeup. Has the same kind of action that his fastball has.
Cahill, despite the fact he got knocked around by Colorado and lost the game, did say afterward that he felt a lot better. And he and Kirk Gibson agreed it was one of his better games, certainly in terms of the command. 2-2 to Jay. He struck him out. 2 down. Good start for Cahill.
That's a curveball that we're talking about. You know, he has a really good curveball, but he's got to keep himself in situations to throw this pitch. Very good. Goes down, has a lot of tilt to it, and he gets the swing and a miss.
What does that mean, situations to throw that pitch?
He's got to keep himself even or ahead in the count to be able to throw it. He doesn't have enough command of that pitch to throw that consistently 3-1, 2-0. He needs to throw that pitch 2-2, 1-2, 0-2.
Well, here's Big Matt Holliday. Another 20-homer season. His 9th straight year with at least 20 home runs. First pitch swinging is sky-high foul ground in front of the Cardinal dugout. Mark Trumbo is there, and Cahill is through a very quick and efficient first inning. Just underway here at Chase Field on the final weekend of the season in 2014. Game ahead of the Pirates with 3 to play. Pittsburgh winning at Cincinnati right now. Cardinals the defending NL Central champs, and the last time St. Louis won back-to-back division titles, Tony La Russa was the manager and the chief baseball officer here in Arizona. And on the mound for the Cardinals, your Arizona Ford starting pitcher Michael Wacha, 23-year-old right-hander, his 19th start, trying to come back, being spoon-fed some innings here in big games after shoulder trouble kept him out all of July and August.
Just watch him take his warm-up pitches. He's working on the fastball. He cuts it. He also has a curveball and his changeup. Really, his changeup is probably his second-best pitch. And once he gets the feel of that, then he can get to that curveball. But they need this guy to kind of lengthen out a little bit. This is a big start for him.
Critical. He was a big weapon for them in the postseason last year. This is just Wacha's 4th start since he missed 2.5 months with that right shoulder problem. They have brought Walker back carefully. He's been held to under pitches in each of his first 3 starts since his return from the DL. And he's ahead of Ender Inciarte, 0-1. And you mentioned the changeup. That is his weapon, his big out pitch, and he has just not found it since he's come off the DL.
Really hasn't got the feel of that. You saw a good fastball there at 96. He can climb the ladder with that, but you need something else. You need to have that changeup for him.
Ender Inciarte does it again. Leads off the ball game with a base hit. He has now hit in 14 straight. What a season.
But, we were talking to the Cardinal broadcasters. Said just watch him his first at bat. He's probably going to get a base hit. Sure enough, boom, there it is. He is unbelievable at getting on base that first AB.
Now 22 hits in the last 14 games counting tonight. He is batting nearly 400 during his hit streak. And don't forget, he had an 18-game streak earlier this year. The new one is now up to 14 as A.J. Pollock steps in. Ender also 1 stolen base away from 20 on the year. Ball 1 to A.J. 307 and 7 homers. He's hit in 4 straight games and 9 of his last 10.
Walker's a little difficult to steal on. In 102 innings that he's thrown this year, he has not allowed a stolen base yet. He's very quick to the plate.
Not one single?
Not one stolen base. That's 2
amazing.
caught stealings.
That is remarkable. And you remember what a weapon he was in the postseason last year as a rookie. Just a baby. Flirted with a couple of no-hitters late last year. A near no-no in his first postseason start. Beat the Pirates in Game 4 in the division series. And then was named MVP of the Cardinals NLCS win over the Dodgers. Walker struck out 13 and 13 2/3 innings of work. He beat Clayton Kershaw twice in that series. And then joined Bob Gibson as the only pitchers in Cardinals history with at least 8 strikeouts and 1 or fewer runs allowed in consecutive postseason starts.
That's pretty good company, Bob Gibson.
He loses Pollock on 4 pitches. First 2 have reached. Andy, let's take a look at the Diamondbacks lineup. Alan Trammell managing today in the dugout.
Well, Ender Inciarte hitting leadoff out in left field. A.J. Pollock in center. David Peralta out in right field. Trumbo at first. Miguel Montero behind the plate along with Jake Lamb at third base. Nick Ahmed at second base tonight. Didi Gregorius, who's been unbelievable at shortstop, and on the mound, Trevor Cahill.
David Peralta at the plate. And this has been the issue with Walker, just trying to get him right and really hurry the process along so he can be something that resembles the pitcher he was last year before they get to the postseason at the end of this weekend.
Yeah, he's got to have to show Mike Matheny, the command that he once had. If you're not going to just be blowing guys away, throwing the ball 97, 98, you got to be able to locate that fastball inside, outside, both ways. And really, like you said before, he's got to get to that changeup. That's a big weapon for him.
He tried throwing it about 20% of the time in his last start, just trying to find it again, and without much success. And he walked Pollock on 4 pitches after the leadoff walk to Inciarte. Now he's behind 2-0 on Peralta, who's in there at 286 and 7 homers. 9 pitches so far from Michael Walker. 2 for strikes. There's a strike, 2-1.
And he's got one of the best in the game calling the game for him, and Yadier Molina. You don't even have to think twice whether he's calling the right sign. You just pick up the glove, and you have one job to do as a pitcher. When he's behind the plate, hit the target. That's all you have to worry about.
Molina back from that very serious thumb injury. And since he's been back behind the plate, he has made an enormous difference. In the 40 games without Yadier Molina catching, Cardinals pitchers had a 4.47 ERA. In 27 games since he's been back, that ERA is 2.78. What a difference.
And of course, when he's behind the plate, it stops any kind of running game also.
3-1 fouled away. It's full now.
Walker's been pretty good against lefties this year. Only .216 average against with 1 home run.
His last time out was Saturday against the Reds. That was at Busch Stadium. 78 pitches. He lasted only 4 2/3. 2 runs on 6 hits, no walks, and 1 strikeout. A single by Inciarte, a walk to Pollock. Now 3-2 on Peralta. Jerry Meals, the crew chief, grants time. He's our plate umpire.
one of the toughest things for a starting pitcher at the very beginning of the game is when you get to the stretch. It's hard enough because you have a lot of adrenaline going from the windup, but when you get to the stretch, you got to be quick to the plate, and it really takes you out of rhythm in that first inning.
They are loaded with no outs for Mark Trumbo, and this has become quickly a worst-case scenario for Derek Lilliquist, the pitching coach, and the Cardinals. This is the opposite of what they were hoping to see.
Yeah, and again, I'll say that because you have a lot of adrenaline. We talked about a big start for Michael Wacha in this game, and immediately when you get to the stretch, now you have not had a chance to establish the tempo and the rhythm as a pitcher that you strive to get. And now you're in big trouble with the bases loaded, nobody out, and now you've got to face the 4, 5, and 6 hitters.
Mark Trumbo steps in. They are loaded with nobody out. Trumbo 233, now 12 homers. Homered twice at Coors Field on Sunday, then hit one Monday at Target Field in Minneapolis.
You know, you would think this would be a good matchup for Mark, a fastball pitcher against a good fastball hitter.
Wacha just cannot throw a strike.
Yeah, and that was a curveball. Molina's trying to find something for him to get him to lock in. And if you can get a pitcher to throw a curveball for a strike, what that does, it keeps your front side closed, and then everything can kind of go off of that.
Trumbo gets it in the air to right center field. Jay and Grichuk out there. It'll be Jay in front of the pool. Inciarte at third will tag. Pollock will move up as well, and it's 1-0 D-backs.
Well, very nice AB, a productive at bat by Trumbo. Got a fastball up in the zone, and he got that ball high and deep out to center field. That's a nice RBI to start.
His 57th RBI of the year. And still some work to do for Wacha. Runners on the corners and one out for Miguel Montero.
Cardinals are going to be playing the infield back, I believe, but you have to watch them because even during the Tony La Russa era, you'd watch the middle infielders come in, move back. Just because they come in doesn't mean they're going to stay in, or just because they're back doesn't mean they're going to stay back.
Swing and a miss. Miggy 244, 13 home runs. He opened up the month of September by hitting in 4 straight games. That was the last series of the season at Petco Park in San Diego, where Miggy had 1 RBI in each of the 4 games of that series. But since that streak ended, he has hit 130 over the last 14 games. It's been a difficult September. Wacha jumps ahead 0-2.
Yeah, that was the changeup. What he's doing right there is trying to get Montero to roll over the top of one. And if he locates that down and away, he's trying to get a ground ball to second base. It's the changeup going away. And see how Miggy pulled off? His head pulled off the ball. Ball hit the end of the bat. So very fortunate right there that he did not hit that ground ball to second. He needs to stay on this pitch a little bit. Try to use the middle of the field.
1-2. Wacha's injury has been described in the St. Louis papers as weird. Sometimes it's considered a stress fracture. Other times it's a stress reaction, which we're told is a precursor to a stress fracture. Either way, right shoulder trouble. It kept him off the mound for the Cardinals from the middle of June all the way through Labor Day. So he missed almost the entire summer.
15 years ago, that was called a sore arm.
Exactly. Now they got all kinds of diagnoses for it. But he's thrown less than 12 innings since his return earlier this month. And as you can see, he is more than a little rusty.
And not only that, he's amped up out there. You know, like we're talking about this being a very important start for him. And he wants to be able to show Mike Matheny that I'm ready for postseason play.
And they need him to be ready, too. Miggy up the middle, a base hit. Pollock froze. He can come on in now and make it 2-0 D-backs. Peralta's in at second, an RBI single for Miguel Montero.
Well, he tried to blow this fastball right by Montero. We talked about the importance of using the middle part of the field for Montero. Stay on this ball. Molina wanted that ball inside. That ball drifted back over the middle of the plate. And a good pass at the ball by Montero. And he stung that ball right up the middle of the field.
Already a 20-pitch first for Wacha. He's got only 1 out, and Jake Lamb steps in.
Just want to keep the line going right here.
237, 4 home runs for the rookie third baseman. He's hit safely in 3 straight, and 5 of his last 6. The breaking ball is in there for a strike, 0-1.
Just love the adjustment that Lamb has made with his hands. When he first got called up, his hands were really about at the belt level, and then they got up a little higher. Now you see the hands well up high, which means he can get to the ball a little bit quicker and shorten that swing up a little bit.
That's a term we hear a lot with Jake Lamb. Well, he's got to shorten up that swing.
Yeah, when he first got called up, when your hands are that low, you got pretty good fastball pitchers up on this level. And in order to start getting ready to swing, you got to bring those hands up and then swing. And that is all it takes for a fastball to beat you.
It gets by Waka on the mound. They'll try and turn 2, and they do. The Cardinals turn a big double play behind Michael Waka, but the D-backs get 2, and after 1 they lead the Cardinals 2-0. CenturyLink, your link to what's next. Coming up in the next inning, the brand new Senior Vice President and General Manager Dave Stewart joins us in the booth when we come back. Our brand new Senior Vice President and General Manager Dave Stewart. How does that sound?
Sounds pretty good.
It sounds good to us. Congratulations and welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
What's today been like for you?
It's been a lot. I kind of designed my life after I retired from the game to kind of just be low-key. And, man,
that's over.
I think I've outdone myself.
You sure have. Well, we're glad to have you, and it's a big job for you. Tell us about the first time you talked with Tony La Russa about the possibility of becoming the general manager and how that process evolved.
Well, when it first came around, he had was more or less thinking about making a change, and once he got to a position where he knew he was going to make a change, he asked if I'd have any interest in it. And obviously at that time I was representing players which most of the kids that I represent, they're like kids to me. They're like my kids. I've had them since they were very young. Matt Kemp since he was 18, 19. Chad Billingsley the same. Chris Carter. I've had those kids all since they were young kids. And so, obviously it was a lot to think about. And but I was very, very honored that he thought of me in this way.
Yeah, that's your agency you built, Sports Management Partners. You really did build that from the ground up, didn't you?
Yes, sir. I started a long time ago, 12 years ago. And my first client was a guy named Dewan Day that was a pitcher at Southern University that got a little major league service with the Chicago White Sox. And then the next guy that I got after Dewan Day was Eric Chavez.
Oh, we're familiar with him. That worked out pretty well.
Yes, it did. We ended up doing a deal with the Oakland A's a 6-year, $66 million deal, and then my business just took off.
Now, how do you feel about, I mean, you had to leave that behind or hand it over to Dave Henderson, right, your partner?
Yes, I did.
Was that hard to do?
Well, difficult because of the ongoing dealings with the guys that I've grown to see as my children. And a lot of them I've given life guidance to. Matt Kemp, probably the closest of my clients. I mean, I'm involved in his everyday life.
Mm-hmm. You know, I think a lot of people don't understand that there's a lot more to just being an agent than just negotiating a contract. And you know, there's the competitiveness to it, but also, you know, just making sure that, you know, the young guys really grow up the right way and understand how to play this game the right way.
If you do it right, if you do the business like it's supposed to be done, I mean, there's a whole lot more to it after the contract. And when you get guys at 17, 18, 19 years old, you're also helping them to be men and to understand the business of baseball, but to also understand life and how to carry yourself.
Well, a walk to Matt Adams here. He's now at second on a wild pitch and a 2-out count to Johnny Peralta. So you have this very successful business, a very impressive client list. Why take this job?
The challenge of building a championship. I've been a championship player, and then as a coach, I was able to be a part of a team that went to the World Series. Unfortunately, we were beaten by the Yankees, and so for me, you know, the day-to-day challenge of really putting together something that could be good, not just for 1 year, but for a long time, is what was impressive to me, along with the fact that Tony La Russa was here.
Why was that the difference maker? Or one of them, anyway.
Tony?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, if you've had an opportunity to be around him, he's a dynamic individual. We've shared a friendship past, my relationship with him as a player. And he had a vision, and
base hit for Peralta. They'll stop Adams at third.
He had a vision, and I believe that I can be a piece of making that vision come true.
And you are all very accomplished baseball professionals in all kinds of different areas. But one thing you all have in common now is you're all in new positions with new responsibilities and new challenges. What about that?
Well, I guess we're in a new position only from the sense that now we get an opportunity to push the buttons. But I think I can't speak for Tony. What I can do is I can speak for Dave Stewart. When I worked for the Toronto Blue Jays, I thought that I'd have an opportunity to do this job at that time, and I had a vision at that time for the Toronto Blue Jays. As an agent, I've watched baseball teams. I've watched what clubs do and how they do what they do. And so I've been a general manager of some sort for a long time, and today is just the day that it's happened.
Today, during the news conference, you said you thought this opportunity had passed you by, the opportunity to be a GM. What was that like?
Well, like everything, at some point I knew my baseball career was going to be over, and I made the transition into, being a sports agent. Well, when I thought that time was over for me, I knew that I was going to have an opportunity to do something, and this is how it turned out. It turned out that I was going to be an agent. So I started that business, and I went after it as best I could, and I think I did some good things in the business. And so for me, this is refreshing that the circle has come back around, and I'm getting an opportunity to actually do what I wanted to do 12, 13, 14 years ago.
So what's next, Stu? What do we do here? What's the next order of business?
Well, what we've got to do with all organizations is we're going to make our foundation stronger, and so we're going to make our minor league system better. And as we're making our minor league system better, we're going to improve our major league club. And, I recognize all the things that you recognize with this baseball team. We need a front-end guy in our rotation, and we're going to work hard to make that happen. We need to play better baseball defensively, and we need to pitch better with the guys that we already have here. And if we can do those things, if we can be a better fundamental ball club, if we can pitch better and defend better, then we're going to have a chance. Obviously, we've got the goal right now to find a guy that can lead these players and make them better players on a day-to-day basis on the field. And we're going to try to fill that position of manager with a guy that's capable of leading these guys, with a guy that has vision, with a guy that can get it done.
Is there a timetable for that?
I said it in the press conference, and I'll say it again. It takes time to do things right. We as a group, we as a team, we're going to put together the best possible list that we can of candidates, and once we do that, I'm sure that we're going to find the right guy.
Well, Trevor Cahill got a double play behind him, but Matt Adams scored on the Molina ground out. He has walked Grichuk, and now Colton Wong steps in.
Yeah, well, despite having a couple walks and giving him a base hit, he got a big double play. When he's locating well, he gets a lot of double plays.
Fly ball to left. Inciarte is there. Dave Stewart, new senior VP and general manager. You can hang in with us for another half inning?
I got you.
Awesome. We'll be back with Dave Stewart after this.
As manager this weekend for the D-backs against the Cardinals. This statement was released earlier today from Kurt Gibson after he was relieved of his managerial duties. Quote, I am extremely appreciative for this opportunity, and I had a great experience with the Diamondbacks. I know we had a tough year, and people will look at this as a negative, but we accomplished a lot of good things here. I told the team that I have nothing but the utmost respect for the organization and the people I've met along the way. Guys, back to you.
Cindy, thanks very much. Steve Berthume, Tom Candiotti here with our new senior vice president and general manager. The fourth GM in D-backs history, Dave Stewart. I always hear that Dave Stewart was a tremendous competitor, and I saw that for myself growing up watching you pitch. How do you think that translates into life as a GM?
Well, what I want to do is I want to win. And when you want to win and you want to win badly, you figure out ways to get it done. My job is to figure out a way to make this ball club the best ball club that I can, personnel-wise. And I've been working diligently at it since I've taken this position. I've been here all of 2 days. I've written a lot of notes. This morning I was up at 5:30 in the morning with ideas of things that I want to do to make the club better, to make the organization better every year. Not if we get an opportunity to be in the playoffs next year, I don't want the year after that to be a down year. I want to be in contention every year.
How do you do that?
How do I do it? Well, as I said, we've got to start with the foundation. Our minor league system, we've got to make it better. We've got to put players in our system, and when we're ready to call on them, they're ready to play and pitch for us. At the major league level, we've got to develop an attitude that it's us against the world and that we can beat anybody on a given day. And obviously, as I said, we've got to do the little things. We've got to play the fundamentals of baseball the way the game has to be played. We've got to get out. We've got to go out, and we've got to play the game hard. We've got to play every inning of every game that we play, and we can't let down. And if we do those things, along with, like I said, some of the personnel moves that we have to make through trade, free agency, however we get it done, we're going to be a better club, and we're going to play relentlessly.
A one-out base hit for Didi Gregorius. Well, you've got a partner here as well, Senior VP now of Baseball Operations, DeJohn Watson. And Tony La Russa, Stu, when he's been here in our booth with us, and both to the media and all the writers here, has spoken about the unique structure of his front office and how it's going to be different from most other professional sports teams. How will you and DeJohn work together? Oh,
shoot. We already have a great working relationship anyway, and we are unique in a sense, but DeJohn and I, we talked about it earlier today. DeJohn is more like a director of player personnel. He's going to oversee our scouting. He's going to oversee our development. He's over our professional scouting, which is going to make us much, much better. It's going to give us much, much more information. It's going to make our minor league system better. It's going to make our scouting department better. We're going to start doing things internally in our draft that makes the whole organization better. We're going to fill gaps that may not be filled. That part of it's going to work absolutely outstanding. But also at the major league side, he's going to be a part of everything that we do on that side. What we've got is a wealth of information here, and there's no reason why we shouldn't use it.
And then you look around and you see Tony La Russa and Dave Duncan and DeJohn Watson and Dave Stewart, a lot of very smart baseball people wearing Diamondback black and Sedona red here.
Well, I don't know if you want to call me smart, but I am a baseball guy.
I'll tell you one thing, though, when competing against the Oakland A's and in that era from, I think you got there about 86 or so, and then even with Toronto, there was always an aura about you guys, with those white shoes.
Yes.
Right? But the way you guys carried yourself, and you're big, athletic, strong people that had a lot of intimidation.
Yes.
And how do you get something like that? How do you build something like that?
Well, I think, I mean, it's a little bit tough to ask of Tony to be able to implement that on the field, and it's tough for me to do that as well. And that's why our next hire is a very, very important hire, and that next hire is going to be the guy that leads these guys. He's going to be the guy that helps to develop that attitude, that helps to develop a new culture in baseball here. And we've got to be very, 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 very careful about the guy that we pick. And we're going to do that. The fans here in Arizona, they deserve it. And we as an organization deserve it.
Do you want someone that has managed in the big leagues before, or does that not matter?
That does not matter. We want the best guy to take us where we want to go.
Gotcha. Well, I think you're going to find that the fan base here, Dave, is very excited about the future. They have hung in during a difficult season. People here are ready to win. I think that's what you'll find. You probably already noticed that.
Well, believe me, I'm ready to win too. So, I mean, we want it as badly as the fans do, and I think we have all of the components here to make it happen.
Well, this might be one of them. Ender Inciarte, who's had a terrific rookie season and has already extended his hit streak, and now he's got a 2-hit game, and Didi Gregorius will head into third.
Tell you the strides that this kid has made early in the year, you can knock the bat right out of his hands. He's made some adjustments. He can hit the ball to left field. Every once in a while, you see him actually jump a ball and throw it to right field. That time, I think he tried to beat it down and in and got it through that hole on the right side.
Dave, what have you seen here with this year's team that you've liked? Things that you can sort of check off. Okay, I feel good about this, or the other thing.
Well, I think that the bullpen is a strength. I like the fact that we're very, very, very good prospect-wise in our middle infield, second and shortstop. We've got a young third baseman that has great upside. And you look at the players that we've called up with Peralta and Inciarte. Those guys, Peralta in particular, has come to the big leagues, and he's made an impression here. With Pollock healthy, Goldschmidt healthy, this ball club is a very in my opinion, we're a very good offensive team. And then, like I said, there is some upside. I like Miley. I think that Anderson has done a good job under the circumstances. You know, we're going to get Cahill back on track, and I think he wants to be back on track. And so, you know, all the things that we've talked about while we're sitting here, are those things have to happen for us. The pitching staff has to compete, and the young players have to. I mean, as they get older and they get more mature, we're going to go into spring training. We're going to work on the things that we need to, so that it becomes a way of life for them when they're playing the game.
Is there enough payroll to give you some flexibility to do some things outside what's already currently in the organization?
Well, I think that management, if the vision is clear, what we're trying to accomplish and what we want to do, I think management is on board with the direction that we need to go.
Now, as an agent, you're trying to get salaries up. As a GM, you're trying to keep them down, right?
You got a GM hat on now.
Well, what I'd like to do is hope that we've got a little money in the kitty, that if we're competing next year, that we can go to the pool and get a player that can put us over the top, if that's where we are at some point next year.
Well, I certainly think that we've seen from Mr. Kendrick that if things are close, he will get done what needs to be done. He's been a terrific supporter.
I spent a little while on the phone with him a couple of days ago, and he seems like a very, very competitive man, and you like to have that in your corner when you're trying to get things for your team.
Yeah, he sure wants to win. The Diamondbacks a chance to extend their lead against Michael Walker, who continues to struggle. Runners in the corners and 2 outs. A 2-2 count to A.J. Pollock.
Dave, do you have to go down and address the team at all, talk to the team before the year's over?
Well, we spoke to the team a little bit today before the game started, and I mean, my conversation and my talk was simple. I'm a baseball guy. I don't think that I fit the mold of the average general manager, and you know, I've been in the clubhouse. I've been a part of what they're facing right now, and I'm going to place expectations on them, and I hope that my expectations become theirs. And if my expectations become their expectation, then it'll also become their goal.
3-2 to Pollock.
Tell you what, as a player, when you're in that locker room and when the general manager comes down, boy, you listen big time. It makes a big difference when the GM comes down. And I don't know if you guys had that with Sandy coming down or not, but I've had some times and it's not fun.
We didn't pay attention to Sandy.
Sandy Alderson. A walk to Pollock, and they're loaded now for David Peralta.
We weren't listening to that guy.
So give me the GM perspective on David Peralta here. Talk us through what you've seen, what you like, and what you think needs to improve.
Well, I know that this young man has a bunch of multiple hit games since he's been here in the big leagues. He's hit well with runners in scoring position. He's a converted player, pitcher to a player, and that in itself tells you the determination of this young man. So when I look at David Peralta, I see no downside. This guy is all upside.
Well, a chance here to really increase that upside with the bases loaded in 2 outs. A single by Gregorius, a single by Inciarte, a walk to Pollock. D-backs with 2 in the first against Michael Walker, who continues struggling to throw strikes. So far, more balls than strikes, and he's hit nearly 50 pitches. Hey, fans, anytime the D-backs score 6 runs or more, Taco Bell is giving away 3 free tacos for the purchase of a large drink between 4 and 6 the following day at participating locations.
Pretty good changeup that time. He laid off of that one very nicely. When we seen him when he first came up, well, he was really swinging the bat well. He got into a little rut, kind of got out of his rhythm, swinging a lot of breaking balls, a lot of balls in the dirt, very aggressive up there, instead of more of an aggressive approach than selective. But boy, when he gets a fastball, he doesn't miss off that often.
And that's what you want, really. You want the guys to be able to hit the fastball.
Dave Stewart, the Diamondbacks' new senior vice president and general manager. Sir, congratulations and thanks for spending this inning with us.
Thank you very much.
Thanks,
Sandy, it's good to see you.
CenturyLink, your link to what's next when we come back. It's going to be Senior VP of Baseball Operations. Deshaun Watson joins us after this. Baseball Operations. Congratulations and thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Great to have you here.
Excited to be here.
8 years with the Dodgers.
Yes.
Tell us about that transition because the blue has got to go.
It's a different feel. We're rocking this red, but I'm excited about wearing it.
It looks good. It looks good.
It feels good. It feels good. Really excited about being here and working with the guys. And so far, so good. You know, I had a wonderful morning today with our Instruction League group and the coaches over there in Instruction League. So, again, productive start.
Vice President of Player Development, most recently with the Dodgers. What will you do here with the Diamondbacks when I hear Senior Vice President of Baseball Operations? Tell the folks what that means.
Wow. Okay, I'll be working with Dave and Tony on building out our Major League club, helping scour the industry for the best free agents that are available. Again, breaking down our players within our system, identifying the guys that we feel like are prepared to come up here and contribute at the Major League level. I'll work with Mike down in the minor leagues, just kind of overseeing what's going on with the development and making sure all of our processes are in the proper place. We're using the right information and getting that thing continue to move it forward. Working with Ray Montgomery on the amateur draft. I'll assist Dave with gathering information from our pro scouts and making sure that information is getting deciphered properly and into the right hands. I'll be going into Latin America and even into Asia to see what we're doing in those places as well. So I'll be a little busy.
Sounds like it. Basically responsible for the entire food chain, as it were.
Well, there's quite a few pillars to what we do here at the Major League level. And just on the other side of the lines here, you have so many different departments that you have to make sure you're taking care of. Even our medical and strength and conditioning department, which we didn't discuss, those are things that also fall under this umbrella. So making sure we're communicating well and talking to our guys and know what's going on, it's going to be a fun year.
I don't think there's enough hours in the day for you right now.
Buddy, I need that 5-hour energy, and I need a sponsor.
When you talk about, and I think this is a very important point that you made, guys that are ready to come up from the minor leagues, ready to contribute, not coming up to learn how to play,
right,
but be ready to play and contribute.
Exactly.
How do you get them ready like that? Is it more time? Or
sometimes it's going to take more at bats. There are other kids who were able to come from AA right to the big leagues and be ready to step in and contribute right now because their skill set is so developed and they're mentally prepared to compete at this level. There are other guys that need a few more reps. So there are lessons to be learned at every single level of the minor leagues, as you well know. And some guys just need a few more at bats. They need to see some pitchers may need to see some more advanced hitters to finish off that slider, to make sure that secondary pitch is ready to compete up here. It's I think, an important time for us from an evaluating standpoint to make sure we're seeing them for who they are and what they have to bring to this big league club.
Matt Carpenter up there. Well, having spent so much time with the Dodgers, I know you're all over the world looking at baseball talent, but what was your view on the Diamondbacks while you were wearing the Dodger blue?
They were competitive. You know, it was never an easy series. I know we've had some success, they had some success against the Diamondbacks. The competition is always good for anyone. I think the Dodgers had to turn it up and be prepared to play a full 9 innings. It was never an easy walk in the park type of game for the Dodgers playing the Diamondbacks.
Nice play by Mark Trumbo down there at first, 2 down. So what have you seen here from a distance, granted from a great distance because he had so many other responsibilities in L.A. But what have you seen here with the Diamondbacks that you've liked in terms of the talent at any level?
Well, having seen the minor league system, again, I was working in our player development side with the Dodgers and seeing these young kids that are coming through the minor leagues. Again, we played against them in rookie ball. We played against them in the Cal League, in the Southern League, in the PCL. So I had a chance to see quite a bit of these guys, and there's some up and coming players here. I like the young power arms that are in the I would say that AA, even some of the AAA guys who've actually creeped into the big leagues right now.
Shipley and Blair, Bradley.
Those guys are all there, and I don't hate to say names because again,
gotcha.
They don't want to leave anybody out, and they're feeling like, oh geez, he doesn't like me very much. So again, I've seen a lot of these young players that are here, a lot of the young position players that are within the system, and you're looking forward to watching them continue to progress and grow.
Nick Ahmed and Chris Owings and Jake Lamb and Chase Anderson.
It's better if you say all these names. If I say them.
Well, every time we look on the screen, there's another one sitting there, and I suddenly feel pretty good about where things are headed.
Well, I like where we are. There's some quality pieces here for us to work with and for us to build around. Getting Goldie back at first base, oh boy, that's going to be exciting to have him in your lineup. You get Trumbo out there as well in the right spot, and you start talking about building lineup depth. Who's going to be at the top of the order. That guy in center field is pretty good too, who plays out there. So there's some nice players here. Figuring out who's going to be our shortstop, who's going to everyday shortstop, who's going to be at second. I like our young guys at third base. And Lamb, and again, you have Aaron Hill's a good player as well. So there's some quality pieces here to work with.
Diamondbacks brand new senior VP of baseball operations. John Watson is with us. You can hang around another half inning.
Be my pleasure.
Excellent. We'll be back right after this. And for the home half of the third here, Chief Baseball Officer Tony La Russa, pitching consultant Dave Duncan. We've talked with the brand new Senior VP and GM Dave Stewart, and joining us here for the bottom of the third again, Senior VP of Baseball Ops John Watson. As Mark Trumbo will lead off the third against Michael Wacha. Tony has talked a lot about how this will be structured differently, the front office of this organization now, not just from other baseball teams, but other teams in professional sports. Right. How big a concern was that for you, and what were the discussions like about how this is going to work with all these baseball minds here?
Well, for me, it was kind of exciting because of the fact that you're going to be able to cross over into areas that you may not be able to cross over to as a traditional, let's say, a GM or VP of player personnel or something like that. what's unique about this is that you have guys with different skill sets that have different strengths that can, pick someone up if they're lacking somewhere else. If you can't make it somewhere to go see a player, someone else can go out and maybe go see that player if you want to do that. I just love the fact that you have a chance to cross over and share information, because I think collectively, if we're sharing our information and wisdom the right way, and we're pulling all in the same direction, which I know we will be, it makes it a very productive situation.
I mean, there's a lot of chefs in the kitchen right now. People say, well, they didn't hire one GM. It seems like they hired 3 or 4.
But there's a lot of energy also. That's the key.
It's a big job, and it's exciting to be working with this group and just talking about the different concepts and ideas. And again, making sure we're putting the proper, process in place. And the information flow is going to be huge, making sure we're communicating, back and forth.
Well, and for you, it looks like you've got a pretty good chance here stepping into a brand new job, inheriting the first pick in the draft next year.
That is pretty nice. I'm excited about that.
Not for a good reason, but suddenly you're looking like a guy that's got a big decision coming up here.
It'll be Ray. Ray will handle the draft. That's his job, and I'm here to support him with his decision making and his group. And I look forward to working with these guys. I'm sure Stu will get out and see some players. Tony's going to get out and see some players. Not that we're going to tell him, hey, you got to do it this way. I think we have to let him and his group really cultivate the draft process and go through what they go through to get themselves prepared for that upcoming selection.
And the draft is always exciting. It's all you get a new guys coming in and you're all hyped up about it. But to me, a lot of it is the player development.
Yes.
The player development, to me, the draft gets to be kind of a crapshoot. You do your best you can, but you never really know, especially if you're going to go after high school guys or something. But that player development, to me, like we were talking about, getting them ready, making them professional.
True.
And because there's some guys that don't learn how to really hold themselves and become professionals when they get to this level.
It's so important that you have a strong development crew in place. Have great teachers at the entry level, because once they get in the door, you really want to lay the foundation of what type of work you're going to do, what type of baseball you want to play, basically the Diamondback brand of how we're going to go out and compete, what our mindset should be, what our offensive approach is going to be. Again, talking about our delivery mechanics.
Right to Jay in center, 2 down.
And how we're going to, again, attack the strike zone and attack the hitters. I think it's so important to lay that foundation for those young guys. And then as they get into the system, we'll have programs in place to kind of assist them grow and understand what it means to be a professional. How do you go from level to level? When is it time to graduate a player? Again, that's something we'll discuss internally with the coaches, the Rovers, as well as Mike Bell, on exactly where we're trying to take this thing. So it's going to be a fun time.
So let me guess here. One of the goals is, say, for instance, a player's at Visalia, and he's getting instructed there, he's getting coached. He goes to Mobile, and the goal is to have him hear the same things he heard in Visalia in terms of how to do things. Right?
Exactly right. The communication, the information, the verbiage that we're using, we should all be using the same words when we're communicating with our players.
This is going to sound silly, but do you write it down in a book? Do you make sure that all the managers at different levels and coaches know the terminology? How do you get one message throughout all those different levels and all those different people?
Well, I think it's important for us. We're going to get together and have like almost organizational meetings by department and sit and share these thoughts and ideas. We will definitely have it written down in paper. So if a coach wants to refer back to what our ultimate goals and directions are, it's there for them. Everyone's going to have their different ways that they teach. Ultimately, our coaching staff, they have to be great teachers and be great communicators as well as listeners with these guys. But the message has to be consistent with how we're going to do it and what we're going to do to get there.
3-2 on Jake Lamb.
Got a couple pretty tough teams in the division with the Dodgers, and the Giants.
Yes.
So in order to compete in this division, you're talking about having to compete against guys like Kershaw and Greinke and Ryu and
yes.
all the way down.
Yes.
And well, that's a quick one there, but can we do that?
Yeah, we can compete with him. We will compete with him.
Senior Vice President of Baseball Operations, John Watson. Congratulations and thanks for your time. Appreciate it.
Man, I appreciate it.
Great to have you here.
Thank you.
Thanks, John.
Thank you so much, man.
Fans, be here at Chase Field tomorrow. It's Hispanic Heritage Day presented by Budweiser. Come early for the pregame street festival presented by APS. And then the first 20,000 fans into Chase Field get this David Peralta Los D-backs t-shirt courtesy of Gila River Casinos. And then after the game, stick around. We'll have a concert featuring Grammy-nominated Latin pop star Christian Castro. For more information and to get your tickets, visit dbacks.com. They lead the Cardinals 2-1 as we start the top of the fourth. Matt Holliday in there against Trevor Cahill. And we want to again thank the new D-backs front office for joining us here in our broadcast booth. Dave Stewart, Senior VP and GM, and Deshaun Watson, Senior VP of Baseball Operations. And Candy, I think everybody feels pretty good about the direction in which this franchise is headed.
I agree. I thought it was very insightful. I mean, they had some great things to say. I love what we heard from Stu and also from Deshaun. I thought that was really important, that you don't really see is, the development of kids, not only from the draft, but how they carry themselves and how they're going to get them ready to be able to contribute once they do get here.
And we'll have President and CEO Derek Hall in our booth tomorrow, and Tony La Russa, the Chief Baseball Officer, on Sunday in the series and season finale. So a lot of excitement here about Diamondback baseball and where things are headed for 2015. There's the strike to Holliday. It's 2-2. He flying out his first time up.
Cahill really struggled in that second inning, but he was able to minimize a couple walks and a hit. Only gave up 1 run in that inning. And came back in the third inning and did a nice job.
Got that double play ball that he got Molina to hit into that did score a run, and then a walk to Grichuk. Wong struck out, then a 1-2-3 third. And Walker has settled in as well for the Cardinals. Gone out of a jam in the second. He's retired 4 in a row. And Cahill is full on the opening hitter here in the fourth.
Holliday has always been a hitter. He's got a little bit of a closed stance, and you used to want to pitch him inside about hand high.
Now, third walk issued by Trevor Cahill, who has thrown 50 pitches in the ball game, 25 balls and 25 strikes, which is right about where he's been all season long, 50-50 to ball strike ratio.
Yep, and the last leadoff walk was in the second inning that actually came around and scored. So, there's good walks, there's bad walks. Most of them are bad walks. A leadoff walk is never a good walk.
Pitching coach Mike Harkey, this is something he's seen before. Big City Matt Adams was the leadoff walk in the second. He scored the only Cardinal run. Hey fans, don't forget, tweet us your fan photo on the Twitter with a hashtag of the whole thing, AZFanPhoto, for your chance to have your fan photo shown later tonight at our game broadcast, brought to us by AT&T. And Matt Adams has seen this all season long. The defensive overshift is one of the players in this league on which teams really do apply the shift. And he has seen a lot of this over the course of the year. And in some sense, it's worked. He has been content oftentimes to push the ball down the left field line away from that shift. So the slugging percentage is down about 50 points from last year.
Yeah, I think the home runs are down. But how about him having 5 triples? That's a big guy up there.
6'3", 260, high fly ball to center for Pollock. Yeah, he'll oftentimes just shoot it down that left field line, and nobody is standing over there, and he ends up at third base. But he has not produced in the cleanup spot the way they've needed him to, and the shift has been one reason why. One away, Johnny Peralta singled his first time. Peralta hitting about 40 points under what he hit last year in Detroit, but he has rediscovered the power stroke a bit this year. 21 home runs, 71 RBIs. He homered just 11 times last year when he was an American League All-Star with the Tigers.
This is where Trevor really needs to be able to locate now. You got a guy with a power type of swing. Keep this ball down. Make him hit the top of the ball. Make this guy hit the ball on the ground. The amount of ground balls he can get if he locates well, he can get those double plays.
Get that sinker working for you. He's behind 2-0.
Holiday these days at first base doesn't run as much as maybe he once done a little bit earlier in his career, but Cahill is one of those pitchers that you can steal off of.
His pitch right there. Peralta waves at it. It's 2 balls and a strike.
Trevor's given up 17 stolen bases this year with 4 caught stealings.
Peralta's bat been a little quiet lately. He's hitting 195 in September. Looks at strike 2.
Nice pitch that time. Good 2-seam fastball, but he just nailed the block on the outside corner. Starts away and just picks it. You keep throwing that pitch right there, you're going to get a ton of outs.
That little comeback 2-seamer against the righty that sneaks in the back door and steals the strike. Missed with it that time, and it's full 3-2.
We talk about being able to pitch and being successful. All successful pitchers will pitch even and ahead in the count. Don't want to be pitching behind in the count.
Cahill, as we mentioned earlier, did not walk a batter in his previous start Saturday at Coors Field. 8 strikeouts, no walks in 5 innings. Did give up 10 hits. He's already walked 3 here tonight, and he's 3-2 on Peralta. Keeping Holiday close down there at first.
Nice pitch there, breaking ball, 3-2 curveball. If he can learn how to command that to go along with his changeup, and you have the confidence to be able to throw that 3-2, even 3-1. You can see Peralta starts to swing, hesitates as he picks up the rotation of the ball. Then he can't do anything with it when he does make contact with it.
Cardinals need this game. The Pirates have won tonight at Cincinnati. So right now Pittsburgh is only a half game behind St. Louis for the NL Central lead. Our DirecTV National League Central standings. Pittsburgh 2-1 winners at the Reds. So if the Cardinals lose this game, they will be tied with 2 to play. They have already clinched a postseason spot. That's a foul ball, says Trip Gibson down at third.
Boy, not a bad pitch at all, but Peralta almost got that over the bag at third base, and that would have been an easy double.
A little roller up the line that, fortunately for the D-backs, stayed foul.
Just missed.
Good at bat here by Peralta. Pitch number 8 coming up. 60 pitches for Cahill, only 32 for strikes. In the air, left field, Inciarte. Ender has it in front of the warning track, 2 down.
A little danger with that one, and luckily he got that inside just far enough. He couldn't quite barrel it up, but that ball was elevated some. The difference between the pitch that just missed down the third baseline, this one up, that's almost belt high. We call that mid-thigh high, and because that ball had a little movement inside, he wasn't able to get enough of that. But that's why it's important for Trevor to keep that ball down around knee high.
Yadier Molina now with 2 outs, and Holiday the runner at first after a leadoff walk. First pitch swinging just like last time. Right back to the mound. Cahill is there. He strands that leadoff walk and keeps it a 2-1 ball game here at Chase. Sports Arizona is brought to you in part by CenturyLink, your link to what's next. And by Jack in the Box. If the D-backs hit a home run today, score a free Jumbo Jack tomorrow with a purchase of a large drink. Downtown Phoenix, we have been very busy here all day long at Chase Field. A new GM, a new Senior VP of Baseball Ops introduced. Kirk Gibson and Alan Trammell relieved of their duties as manager and bench coach respectively, although Tram is here managing the Diamondbacks for this final series, which is the most important series of the season for the St. Louis Cardinals, who as of this moment lead the Pittsburgh Pirates by only a half game atop the National League Central. There's Andy Green, the Mobile Bay Bears manager, who's been on the staff here recently, along with Tram, who was running the ball club after the departure of Kirk Gibson earlier today. Nick Ahmed, a late addition to the starting lineup for the Diamondbacks. Chris Owings originally in there at second base, but CO has got that nagging shoulder that's flared up a bit lately. They didn't like what they saw, so they scratched Owings at the last moment, and Nick Ahmed is in there at second base. He's down 0-2.
With the little bit that we've seen of Nick Ahmed, he can really pick it out there. Very slick, very quick. But as far as offense goes, he's still trying to find it.
It's funny, he did not hit last year. He hit .236. He played all year at AA Mobile. Played in the fall league, didn't hit there either. But then this season went to Reno at AAA, played 104 games there and hit .312, had 26 doubles. So the bat has come around a bit, but he's hitting only .200 in just about 70 plate appearances with the D-backs this year. There's a slow roller to shortstop. Peralta throws him out. And that's the first down here in the bottom of the fourth. Faith Hands, FoxSportsArizona.com. All your online local sports coverage you just won't find anywhere else. It's got Jack McGurner, who's been here all day, visually writing up all the changes with the D-backs today. Front office hires and post-game reaction from the clubhouse, and the Coyotes continue to trim their roster as opening night comes up. FoxSportsArizona.com. Didi Gregorius. Didi singled his first time up. He's now got a 7-game hitting streak.
Michael Wacha throwing a lot of first pitch curveballs. I would say probably almost half the batters he's faced has probably started them off with some kind of breaking pitch.
Well, he has always featured a four-seam fastball, about 94. Got a cutter and a curveball as well. But that best pitch, as Tom mentioned earlier, was that killer changeup. And they're still trying to find that. A plus put-away pitch, just kind of dives away from lefties, down and into righties. A big strikeout pitch for him. But it has just not come back since the shoulder injury that kept him out almost 3 months. And he tried to get it back his last time out, threw it about 20% of the time. And Mike Matheny has said, look, that changeup for Wacha, that's the last component. That's what's been missing. That's what they need to get him into the postseason and be effective. And they are trying desperately at this point to give him the opportunity to get it back.
Anytime a guy's throwing that ball up in the mid-90s, the breaking ball is fine and stuff, but the changeup is the one really separates him. And you're exactly right. He needs to get that change going.
Well, this is a good question for you, and Matheny talked about this with Wacha. He said the changeup for Wacha, that's something that he's accustomed to having whenever he wants it. He knows he's got it in his back pocket, and he can get a big strikeout with it when he needs it. But that's the pitch that's kind of eluding him right now. So how does he pitch, or how does any pitcher pitch, with his big put-away pitch not available to him?
He doesn't pitch very successfully when you don't have your best pitch.
I mean, that's really got to limit not just what you can do, but your mindset and your approach to what you're trying to do, right?
Is absolutely. When you watch Josh Kallmenter pitch, the fastball, of course, is very deceptive over the top, but the great changeup. If you take his changeup away, what do you have out there? Yeah. And the same with Michael Wacha. He can get maybe a little farther than Josh because of the velocity that he has on his fastball. But at some point, in this level, and we heard Dave Stewart talk about it, they're not 95 miles an hour is not that big a deal to these guys. So you got to have something to keep them off of that fastball.
And that's what they need to get him back. And Mike Matheny said, look, they're just going to have to keep working on it, or he is, until it comes back. And they need it to come back now. Yeah. But Matheny said in terms of, stuff, command, where Wacha is with his pitches right now, not unlike spring training for him. And the season, in this case the postseason, starts in a week. So he's running out of time.
Running out of time, and the only way you're going to get that back, it's not by throwing on the side. It's not by throwing. It's by throwing in games. It just is repetitious. You just need to keep throwing it. And at some point, all of a sudden that feel comes, a changeup, like a curveball, is a feel pitch. And, you know, you'll develop that feel. And then once you get it, you throw a couple, you go, there it is. And that's what they're hoping that gets for Michael Wacha.
Cahill tomahawks that one into shallow right, but Colton Wong makes a nice running catch. And Wacha has now retired 7 straight. D-backs lead it 2-1.
Knows pitching so well and has so much success that he's not going to tolerate a lack of effort or a lack of emotion on the mound. You know, it's I think he's going to expect a lot out of us, and I have a little relationship with him from when I was in Oakland, and so fortunate to at least have the introduction out of the way, and now he'll be viewing me in a different light than he did in Oakland.
Back at Chase Field, Brad Ziegler providing our Geico quote of the day. The Diamondbacks with a 2-1 lead here in the top of the 5th. In fact, guys, I talked to several pitchers in the D-backs clubhouse earlier today, and all of them are ready to rise to the challenge that they know is going to come from the new general manager in Dave Stewart, and they can't wait to take that on. Guys, back to you.
Thank you, Cindy. It certainly was exciting around here today, Candy. And boy, Dave Stewart, because you pitched when he pitched, he had that look. Talk about an intimidator and a competitor out there. He was impressive.
He really was. And when he took the mound, he just had that hat down. You couldn't see his eyes. And he was no nonsense out there. Even off the field, when you talk to him, even the day you're not pitching against him, when you're talking to him, I mean, he's all business. And some of the best matchups that he had that I used to enjoy watching was when he took on Roger Clemens. Those two were the two best, really, at that time. Clemens probably with the best numbers. Stewart would always want to rise to the occasion and take on their best. And inevitably, it seemed like Stu always won those battles.
Randall Grichuk, the rookie, and the impressive rookie at that, is in there. You mentioned Dave Stewart and Roger Clemens. The first game that Tony La Russa ever won as A's manager in 1986. His first day on the job. His pitcher that day was Dave Stewart, who beat Roger Clemens at Fenway Park 6-4 in July of '86. And '86, by the way, pretty good year for Clemens and the Red Sox.
Yes, it was.
So how about that? All those years ago, his first win as A's manager, Stewart the winning pitcher, and now here he is as the senior VP and GM of the Diamondbacks. So Tony La Russa, the chief baseball officer, here in the radio booth with Greg Schulte filling in your seat, and we want to thank you for stopping by. Bob Brenly at AT&T Park in San Francisco tonight, taking part in ceremonies honoring the great Willie McCovey.
What a fun experience that is for him, going back to San Fran.
Yeah.
At least he says he did.
He is there at AT&T Park. They've got quite a lineup of former Giants greats, and BB was very honored to be asked to attend that ceremony honoring Willie Mack, so he'll be back tomorrow. And now we're going to kick you out of here tomorrow and put you back on radio.
I'm all good with that. I don't know. This is fun.
And how about notable former players? Now, a lot of these guys, some of them anyway, might be considered managerial candidates here. The names are flying out all over the Twitterverse. Anybody that ever played for Tony somewhere, your name might even come up. Who knows?
Yeah, we even seen Carney Lansford with Tony over here about 2 months ago. Yeah. So, throw another one out there.
Well, another 3-2 count from Trevor Cahill, who's about to throw pitch number 70. So far, 38 strikes and 31 balls. Bouncer over the mound, up the middle, and by Didi for a base hit. Randall Grichuk, they love this kid. He's a very hot prospect, and right now he has got 8 hits in his last 19 at-bats.
Swinging a hot stick, and it's very rare when you see young players, especially when they get behind in the count, take the ball up the middle. We talk about that a lot with 2-strike approaches, and sure enough, he just beats this ball right up the middle. And once you get it by the pitcher, there's a lot of hits up the middle of the field.
Grichuk out of high school in Rosenberg, Texas, a first-round pick by the Angels in 2009, the 24th player selected overall. In fact, how about this? Randall Grichuk was the player drafted directly before Mike Trout. And he was taken 7 spots after the D-backs got A.J. Pollock. The Cardinals got him from the Angels in the David Freese trade last November. Colton Wong.
Pretty good little draft, huh?
That worked out all right, huh? Come on, Wong! Colton Wong flying out his first time up.
You'll see a lot of guys also try to play a little hit and run. If you're not going to steal, you play a lot of hit and run with Cahill on the mound and try to prevent that double play, try to stay out of it. Wong is one of those guys to make contact because he can run.
Because you figure if they do make contact, chances are it's going to be a ground ball.
Ground ball, if as long as Cahill's making his pitches, hits the ball on the ground, you at least get that lead runner to second base and avoid that double play.
Wong is another first-round pick, the Cardinals' first-rounder 3 years ago out of Hawaii. He is slumping lately for his last 28 at the plate.
When Cahill comes set on the mound, too, you watch for his footwork. He's way on the first base side of the rubber, and he's slightly open, which, as a right-handed pitcher, you need to be a little bit open to see that guy at first base. We just had that. I forget who was the Inciarte almost got caught a couple times.
Right to Ahmed, and they double off Grichuk, 2 down.
Boy, that's a break there, a hard hit line drive, but sometimes it's not, it's where you hit the ball and not how you hit the ball, and that's a break for the Diamondbacks. Just a line shot, and Ahmed turns it.
So they got the leadoff single by Grichuk. Wong hit a rocket right to Ahmed at second. But instead of having 2 on and nobody out, there's nobody on and 2 out for the pitcher.
After you give up a line drive, that's living life right.
A big time hang with him for Colton Wong. 0-1 now to Waka, who struck out his first time. Cahill's only given up 2 hits, but he has walked 3.
Well, he's battling out there. Just the one thing with Trevor, you hope after the first inning or so that all of a sudden you get that adrenaline out and you start locating your pitches. And for him, to me, really get that changeup going. And I still don't feel like he's got the good feel yet.
He had that run of 5 starts where his ERA was under 3. Looked good with that curveball and changeup, but we haven't seen it lately.
I mean, even that pitch was a curveball, but he gave up on his follow through, and that really kind of broke down in his mechanically.
Called strike 3, rings up Walker. 3 strikeouts for Cahill. He leads it 2-1.
16 interactive kiosks right here at Chase Field during any Arizona Diamondbacks regular season home game. We could do that.
Do it just for fun. There you see the score. Kansas City Royals at Chicago White Sox. And Candy, the Royals are in. They clinched their first postseason spot since 1985 when they won the World Series.
Yeah, beat the Cardinals, right?
They assure themselves at least the second American League wild card. So now the longest postseason drought in the major leagues belongs to the Toronto Blue Jays. Blue Jays haven't seen the postseason since before the strike, 93. But the Royals are in. They get an American League wild card spot. Ender Inciarte, 2 hits so far, a pair of singles. He has scored a run. The hit streak now at 14 games.
I bet you Kansas City is jumping tonight.
It's a big deal for them.
Yes.
In a long time. We'll never be Royals, Candy, as the song says.
Never heard of that one.
No, well, you're not too big on the music, are you, with the kids? First time in 29 years. And, you know, Kansas City's a team that you don't want to face in a postseason series if they survive the wild card game. They've got good starting pitching and a dominant bullpen.
We saw the bullpen. We saw the arms they brought out of that bullpen. That is ridiculous.
Wade Davis and Holland and all those guys back there. That could be difficult. And of course, the postseason very much on the mind of the St. Louis Cardinals here. The Pirates have won at Cincinnati 2-1. And so right now, St. Louis, the lead over Pittsburgh atop the NL Central is only a half game. And they need to win this one. Otherwise, they will be tied for the division lead with 2 to go. A little tapper back to the mound. Waka has to hurry. He gets Inciarte for the first time tonight. And he's now retired 8 in a row.
High fastball that time. He jumped on that ball, got in there real quick on a little tapper by Inciarte.
Cold hard facts brought to you by Frost Brewed Coors Lights. Longest rookie hit streaks. Ender Inciarte now 1 and 2 on the Diamondbacks all-time list.
Pretty impressive hit streaks. You think about that. When you saw this guy earlier this year, there's no way in the world you would have thought he would have had a couple hit streaks like that.
First pitch swinging. A.J. Pollock high in the air to center. Easy play for Jay, though. 2 down. Yeah, Ender hit .235 in the first half of the season. But he's hit over 300 since the All-Star break, and that's in about 70 more at-bats than he had the first half of the year.
Yeah, he's just getting better and better, and I think just more confident. He found himself playing every day. And I think when we heard him before the game talk about Gibby, you know, Gibby was a big factor in that, really giving him a lot of confidence and, you know, building him up as the season went on.
There's a lot of negatives, obviously, about the season that the Diamondbacks have had this year. But along the way, they found some players. They found Ender Inciarte. They found David Peralta. They found Chase Anderson. And so you do mine something from this in that sense. You have players now with whom you can move forward that they didn't have going into this year. As Peralta strikes out, Waka has now retired 10 straight. 6th inning coming up. It's 2-1 D-backs. Arizona is brought to you in part by Phoenix International Raceway. Don't miss the NASCAR semifinals on November 9th. Get tickets for the Quicken Loans Race for Heroes 500 at phoenixraceway.com. And by Panda Express, introducing Panda Express online ordering. Chase Field, downtown Phoenix. Steve Berthume, Tom Candiotti, and Cindy Brunson along the way. 6th inning here, and the Diamondbacks lead the Cardinals 2-1. Candy so far. Trevor Cahill's given up only 2 hits. He struck out 3, but he has walked 3 as well.
Yeah, he has walked 3, and it just seems like he just can't get rid of those walks on a consistent basis. But you're starting to see him pitch with a little mojo right now. I like the way he finished that last inning off.
Matt Carpenter swings and misses at strike 1. He's 0 for 2.
Nice pitch. Starts this at bat off with a changeup. Pulls the string on it. Out in front. Nice pitch.
Well, look at that thing drop.
Yeah, and that's the thing. His changeup's not a straight change. It looks just like his sinker going up there.
Almost took Cahill's head off that time. Carpenter bangs it right back up the box. Leadoff man aboard in the 6th. Cardinals have got to have this game.
That's a chuck and duck right there. A line shot right at you. Cahill ends up in very good fielding position as a pitcher. He can defend himself. Watch it. He's ready for that line drive, but it's hit so hard, it's right over his head. But great positioning as he finishes his pitch. He's in a really good fielding position.
Well, Trevor's high point this season came this summer when from the end of July through the middle of August he had that stretch of 5 straight starts during which he went 2-1 and pitched to a 2.73 ERA, and things looked really encouraging. There was genuine progress, and he looked very good at times. The sinker effective, showed that good curveball, that good changeup he just saw. He threw them both for strikes. But over the last 5 starts, his tip's going backwards. 0-4, the ERA near 9.5, and it's been frustrating, he admits, because he felt like he had been making strides toward limiting the walks and pounding the zone. Suddenly he goes through an experience where it all kinds of just crumbles down on him, and now we're back to square one.
Yeah.
The ups and downs of Trevor Cahill.
Oh yeah, it's all over the board right there. But when you watch him throw and you just examine his outings, there's one thing that's common to me, and that's his fastball command. If he can command his fastball and work ahead in the count with his fastball, keep it down, but in the strike zone, then he can get the changeup and the curveball and even his occasional slider to work. As long as he pitches even and ahead in the counts. If he can't pitch even and ahead in the counts, then he's going to keep struggling.
How would you fix him? Because, well, you heard Dave Stewart and DeJohn Watson talk about getting Trevor Cahill back on track.
I think a lot of it is the signal calling. And I think you have to be able to, for Trevor, you have to be able to establish his fastball.
John Jay lines that one down the right field line. Carpenter stops at second.
I was in a lot of pitcher-catcher meetings with Mike Scioscia, who I always thought was the best guy at calling a game. And when we would be in our meetings, if you had a guy like Ramon Martinez or, let's say, a Kevin Gross, he would immediately say, we're pitching the whole first 3 innings, throwing nothing but fastball till you know where to throw that fastball. He'd do the same thing with Orel Hershiser. You got to establish your fastball. Second time through the order, then you start mixing things in. And when you watch a lot of times when Trevor pitches, he's going right to the curveball real early, the changeup real early. The first batter might see 2 changeups, a curveball, and a fastball, whereas you need to establish that fastball.
But those guys you mentioned have, well, presumably straighter 4-seam fastballs. Cahill has the big movement on that 2-seam sinker. What happens if he just can't locate it?
He has a lot of the same stuff that Orel Hershiser brought to the table. Really? A really good sinker and a very good curveball Orel did. His changeup's not as good as Cahill's, but he had a great sinker that he established. The more you throw one pitch, the better it's going to get. The better command and the better movement. And so I think that's one thing in my eyes that I would like to see Trevor do, is establish that fastball a lot more successfully early in the counts.
Just come out, start throwing sinkers.
Early in the games, establish that number 1 pitch.
Well, he's got some work to do here. Carpenter on second, Jay at first, nobody out. A 1-0 count to Matt Holliday, who has popped up and walked 0 for 1. And you got to be careful with the dangerous Matt Holliday. red hot lately, batting about .340 over his last 16 games, including 4 doubles and 4 homers. He had a pretty quiet first half of the season offensively, but has really picked it up lately. 14 home runs since the All-Star break.
Yeah, and see, this is a critical at bat right now with a couple guys on base. You've fallen behind a really good fastball hitter, 2-0. So again, you're not pitching even or ahead in the count here.
Which is down and listed in the air to right. Peralta coming in, and that's the first out in the 6th.
Nicely done. Holiday probably swung at a ball right there. It's a fastball down and away, and because he was in a very aggressive account, he was up there ready to hit a fastball, and that fastball wasn't where Trevor wanted to throw it.
That's a terrible 2-0 pitch to swing at.
Yeah, absolutely. But that's why I said that's a break for Trevor right now. And now he's 1 pitch away from getting that ground ball double play.
And Matt Adams is the hitter. He walked and scored in the 2nd, flying out to center his last time up. The Diamondbacks will not, with 2 runners on base, put on the dramatic overshift that Adams so often sees up there. Big city Matt Adams, 6'3", 260. Nice block by Montero. Matt Adams getting a lot of grief in St. Louis this week from some of the media there for the lack of production in the cleanup spot. The last time the Cardinals had a cleanup hitter with fewer than 80 RBIs, and Adams has 68, was 1992. Felix Jose had 68 RBIs for the 92 Cardinals.
And not Jose Felix.
Correct. I see what you did there. And an RBI spot for Matt Adams in a game the Cardinals have to have. Misses inside. 2-0 now.
We talk about the percentages of pitches that Cahill throws tonight. 72% fastballs. That's probably a little bit higher than normal for him, along with the changeup and the curveball. And when you start throwing that fastball more for strikes, you're going to get to the secondary pitches a lot better. And you need to have those good secondary pitches on this level to succeed. Good changeup there.
That changeup. Look at this thing just drop. Look at the movement on this pitch. And this is what we're talking about right when we talk about stuff. He's got great stuff.
Great movement on that. But when you look at the location of that, he missed his target by probably a good 8, 10, 12 inches. And Montero wanted that ball away. It went down and in, but he still got the swing and the miss. But it does have tremendous movement, like you said.
Everything he throws is darting and diving and dropping and falling and sinking and sliding.
And that's what we're talking about with command. It's just the one thing that's just holding him back, because his stuff is off the charts.
Hitters count here for Big City, 2-1, 2 on, 1 out. A rocket into right. They'll stop Carpenter at third, and the Cardinals, with 1 out, have the bases loaded.
You had a ground ball pitcher in Cahill, and again, he went away from the sinker that time, tried to cut this ball up in on the hands. So a guy that's used to working down in the zone constantly to be successful, he tries to come up and in with a cutter, and that's above the belt. And pitches like that,
you hang them,
you're going to pay the price.
You hang them, they bang them. And here comes Mike Harkey. 90 pitches for Cahill, only 51 for strikes.
Yeah, Trevor really struggles pitching from the stretch. With guys on base or even with runners in scoring position, his average jumps way up. Even against lefties, he has really struggled this year, probably about a 350 average or something like that. So, he's got to get better in those formats. So, for him, he's got to work on the command, but you also have to make your most critical pitches of the game pitching from the stretch. So you need to get better, not just pitching from the windup, but making those crucial pitches from the stretch.
Diamondbacks with 1 out will bring the infield in. Well, now they're backing off a bit. Trumbo coming in at first. Lamb even with a bag at third. The middle infield is back with 1 out. Hoping to get a ground ball here from Johnny Peralta. Singled his first time up. He flied out in the 4th, 1 for 2. There's a fly ball to center field. A.J. Pollock backing up at the track, looking up, and it's off the wall. Carpenter had a hold up. He'll come in and score. Jay right behind. They'll stop Adams at third, and the Cardinals lead at 3-2.
Fastball, we talk about mid-thigh high. Mid-thigh high. and Peralta made him pay for it. Drills this ball almost to the 407 mark. Diamondbacks almost got caught defensively that time as Trevor Cahill didn't get back to back up. Your job is to run between third and home on this and react to where the throw goes. He got caught in the infield, and that ball almost got by him, and then they would have been in trouble.
And that's going to be it for Trevor Cahill. Here comes Alan Trammell. Johnny Peralta, his 38th double of the year, a 2-run double. With the one out, has made it 3-2 St. Louis, and that's it for Cahill in 2014. Back after this. On Fox Sports Arizona, Coyotes start their hockey season against Winnipeg Thursday, October 9th, 6 o'clock. A special 1-hour Coyotes live pregame show. And then it's the Suns. They take on the Lakers Wednesday, October 29th. Suns live pregame at 6:30 right here on Fox Sports Arizona. New pitcher for the Diamondbacks is the right-hander Will Harris. Cardinals now have a 3-2 lead. 4 hits in the inning against Trevor Cahill. And threatening more here, Matt Adams is the runner at third. Johnny Peralta at second after his 2-run go-ahead double. Here's Yadier Molina, who's 0 for 2.
This is a huge at bat right now. Harris coming in a big-time jam. You've got to make some good pitches.
Molina has a 7-game hitting streak.
Yeah, one thing about Molina, too, it seems like this guy has a knack for driving in some crucial runs. Might not be up there at 100 RBIs every year, but it just seems that this guy always seems to nub out a hit or make contact or do something.
Has a great ability to go to right and right center, and sure enough, he drives it to Peralta in right field. Adams will tag and score to make it 4-2, and Peralta is in at third.
Talk about the quality of an at-bat. A guy like Molina takes a curveball, but to see his approach on that, you talked about how well he hits that ball to right field. He waited on this ball. He let it travel, and then when that ball got deep, he just drilled it. He was only trying to hit this ball to right field this whole at bat. And you did him a favor by really throwing him a breaking ball in that situation. And
he has become an excellent offensive player. 3 straight seasons hitting over 300, and a lot of the damage done just like he did right there. He will hit the ball the other way into right and right center. So now it's Grichuk who has walked and singled. And Peralta still at third now with 2 outs. So some work to do here for Harris. It's turned into a 3-run Cardinals 6th. In a game they have to have. As we mentioned, the Pirates have won 2-1 at Cincinnati. And the Cardinals are answering here in the 6th at Chase Field.
good fastball that time, right on the outside corner. Situations like this, you got to be a good corner pitcher.
Cahill still responsible for Peralta at third. 4 earned on 6 hits and 5 1/3. A ball and a strike to Randal Grichuk. There's the strike, 1-2. Grichuk red hot. 8 hits in his last 19 at bats, including 2 home runs. Will Harris strikes him out and strands Peralta, but the Cardinals get 3. They take a 4-2 lead. Central by 1 game over the Pirates with just 3 to play. Andrew McCutchen and the Buccos winners at Cincinnati tonight. That was Vance Worley and Mike Leake. So right now Pittsburgh is only a half game behind the Cardinals lead. And there's your final score. Pittsburgh 3-1 winners at Great American Ballpark. And so the Cardinals need this one to maintain that 1 game lead. They would be up 1 with 2 to play if this final score holds up.
Another first pitch curveball, that time by Walker, just a little low. Trumbo laid off of it.
Michael Walker has retired the last 10 he's faced. And he has really settled in, Candy. Couldn't have had a more rocky first inning. But tell you what, he's been rolling along since giving up 2 singles and a walk in the second.
Yeah, really, that double play in the first inning, that's probably the biggest pitch he made of the game. And after that, he's been pretty good. Little issues with the walk early on. His 3 walks that he has.
And this is exactly what they were hoping to see from Michael Walker. Have him settle in and get some consistency. Hey fans, when the D-backs win, you win at Papa John's. The day after every D-backs win, you get 50% off your regular menu price online order at Papa John's. Just enter promo code D-backs50 at papajohns.com. Walker mentioned coming off the shoulder injury that kept him out 2.5 months, that right shoulder problem. This is just his 4th start since he came off the DL. He has been held to under 80 pitches in each of his first 3 starts. He's at 95 and still throwing here. In the bottom of the 6th, Cardinal bullpen is quiet. Somebody's up and throwing down there right now, actually.
Yeah, hasn't gone 5 innings yet, like you said. Well, that's why this is a big start for him right now. He's got a 2-run lead, and to me, it looks like he's kind of got a little pep in his step the way he's throwing right now. It's the best he's probably looked this whole game so far.
Well, Mike Matheny admitted that Walker just has not looked right since returning from the shoulder trouble. And they said they have asked a guy to come into a September situation when the Cardinals are in the hunt and expect him to be sharp with all his pitches, and that's not happened yet. And it wouldn't be uncommon that he wouldn't feel sharp or feel right. But the Cardinal manager has got to be happy with what he's seeing here tonight.
Yes. You look at his stuff, he just eyeballed that one at 97 miles an hour.
Trumbo bangs it into left for a leadoff single.
Picked this ball up. It was down, well located down, but Trumbo went down and got this ball.
He seems to be a really good low ball hitter.
You're exactly right. And I think Matheny's seen enough. I think he's liked what he's seen.
Take a look at Mark Trumbo. Digs this one out of there.
Molina wants it down and in. He gets it down there. I mean, right where his catcher wanted it. And Trumbo just did a nice job getting to that ball and barreling it right into left field.
And that's going to be it for Michael Wacha. He is a key to St. Louis's postseason success, and this looked to be a big step forward for him. Back after this. D-backs schedule has been released. Whole lot of great matchups you won't want to miss, including weekend series against the Giants, the Dodgers, and the Cubs. And you can lock in your seats today at a guaranteed discount off single game pricing if you go with a weekend season ticket plan. Now, our weekend plan gets you every Saturday and Sunday game, plus opening day, Monday, April 6th. They'll call 602-514-8400 or visit dbacks.com/tickets. The veteran Randy Choate in to face left-hand hitting Miguel Montero. Mickey had an RBI single in the first. He's 1 for 2.
You got the left-handed specialist in there, but Mickey knows him. He's caught him before, and you know you're going to get a ball that's come from down under a little bit, so you just got to watch it a little bit longer and try to get a good pass on it right now.
And a good spot for Choate here to face Montero and the left-hand hitting Jake Lamb on deck. Yes, he went 0-2. Randy Choate been getting it done a long time.
Yeah, he knows exactly what his role is. He knows he's going to come in and he's going to throw that big sweeping slider to the lefties.
And if this guy does what he does, he's going to have to get some big outs for the Cardinals in October. Get some key guys in key spots late in games. He strikes Montero out on 3 pitches.
Another slider just swept right across the plate. Maybe just didn't have the plate coverage for it and strikes out. See where Molina sits up, he moves outside. This ball right to his glove. That's a great pitch.
Jake Lamb has hit into a double play and struck out 0 for 2. Randy Choate, 39 years old, out of Winston Churchill High School in San Antonio, Texas. He's a Florida State Seminole. His 14th year in the major leagues. his 60th appearance this year.
We start getting towards postseason baseball, and in the postseason, these lefties become so valuable.
Can they turn it? They'll get the force on Trumbo, but Lamb's aboard as Mark Trumbo did a great job coming in to break that one up.
He gets this ball real quick, Choate does, and no hesitation at all. He gets this ball right to Peralta, his shortstop. But you see Trumbo just bearing in, slides across the bag, and he's trying to alter the throw of Peralta, and he doesn't. He can't even throw the ball. Great slide.
Randy Choate, the former Diamondback, will exit. D-backs have a man on with 2 outs and a new pitcher coming in to face Nick Ahmed back after this. Arizona is brought to you in part by Chaz Roberts Air Conditioning and Plumbing. Choose Chaz. 41,000 plus here at Chase Field. That includes 1,000 folks who took advantage of our Oktoberfest here tonight. Kommen und haben eine wunderbare Sicht, Candy.
Wow, I can't follow that one up.
Es wird eine sehr lustige Nacht. And they certainly did. Seth Maness, the right-hander, on to face Nick Ahmed. His 72nd appearance on the year at 2.61 ERA. 2 down, Jake Lamb, the runner at first. Ahmed has flied out and grounded out 0 for 2.
This is where you like to see Ahmed just kind of shoot one through the right side of the infield here. Doesn't really have a lot of power, but you got Adams hold the runner on. Get a little bit more room over on that right side.
Here's that moment where Nick's swing gets a little big on him. Lamb down there at first. Nick, a late addition to the starting lineup tonight. Chris Owings, a late scratch with that balky shoulder acting up a bit. CO's been struggling as of late, so Ahmed gets the start at second base. Bounces one to second base. Colton Wong is there. It's an easy out, and Maness does the job. We are through 6. D-backs trail at 4-2.
down in November and come back in January, throw again. But we'll see how things go and see what their plans are for me in the future. But we'll see that probably closer to the end of next spring training.
2013 All-Star Patrick Corbin on his recovery from Tommy John surgery. And earlier today, guys, about 2 o'clock this afternoon, he was out throwing the baseball. He says he feels spectacular. Everything is on track as far as his rehab goes, and there have been no setbacks. So that's very good news indeed. Guys, back to you.
Cindy, thank you. Boy, Candy, has he been missed?
No, big time. You know, I think of everybody you think about. You lose your ace of your staff, you know, before the season even starts, and the way they lost him, that's devastating.
Well, the whole first half of last year, he was one of the best left-handers in all the major leagues. And speaking of lefties, here's Oliver Perez on the mound to open up the 7th inning for the Diamondbacks. The search for pitching continues. A lot of it is already here. We just saw a shot of Andrew Chafin. Patrick Corbin, we anticipate, comes back next year. Maybe June-ish. Somewhere. Bronson Arroyo, of course. His Tommy John, check the dates on the 2 surgeries. Bronson's surgery was the middle of July, whereas Patrick had his at the end of March, right as we were in Sydney, Australia. And so Bronson, you know, is further behind. I think it's probably a stretch, and you know certainly better than I would about maybe Bronson pitching next year. What do you think?
Well, I think he's, you know, as long as his rehab goes well, you know, I think Bronson's a guy that can bounce back relatively quickly because he's not a maximum effort pitcher. And I think he can, you know, knowing him, the way he pitches, the way he can even fight through things, I think you can see him back. But the nice thing about that is that you're going to get 2 really good pitchers back. And one Corbin, that's like making a huge trade in the middle of the year.
Sure is. And you know, supplement that with what you've seen this year from, well, Chase Anderson, who's proven he belongs in the big leagues. He could be a solid 4 or 5 at any rotation. And I think Josh Colmenter, too, Candy, has certainly been their most consistent starting pitcher all year. And now you look at Josh in a different light than you did at this time last year, don't you?
I think he's much more valuable in the role that he's in now than having to come in an extra inning game when you happen to get one of those. He has been the most consistent and probably the best pitcher, you know, and a leader, like he says, on this staff. And I think he's done a marvelous job. Just awesome.
And you've got Colmenter, who we like for his consistency and his leadership. Wade Miley for his slider, that put-away wipeout slider that can be so effective. And Wade also for his ceiling. I mean, he's got the chance when he's on to pitch like a solid, you know, 2nd or 3rd starter in any good big league rotation. And as long with that good speed, beats out the little dribbler.
Not much you can do about that one there. Just a swinging bunt. You said a little dribbler there. Ahmed did everything he could to come in there, but Wong gets out of the box very quickly, hit from the left side. Tough to get.
And the pitcher spot is due up now for St. Louis, so we'll see a pinch hitter. And from Notre Dame Prep here in Scottsdale, it's going to be the former Angel, Peter Borges. Long discussion with third base coach Jose Oquendo down there. And here's Borges, 2 for his last 20 at the plate. 236 on the year, 4 homers. He played a lot more in the first half of the year, 44 starts before the All-Star break, but only 20 in the second half of the season. He's lost a lot of playing time to John Jay, who's had a very good second half. So Borges batting for the pitcher. Wong aboard at first. Lamont on the grass at third. Borges, of course, with excellent speed.
A lot of times in that situation, you call it just a pick off, just to see if the hitter's going to give anything away. And sure enough, Borges kind of squared around like he was going to bunt.
Jake Lamb 2 or 3 steps in on the grass at third.
What Borges brings, though, he brings to the Cardinals, he can bring some speed. Some team speed there, plays a pretty good defense. He can play center and left, you know, the outfield positions, but you know, he can do a lot of things to help Mike Matheny out.
His first season with St. Louis after the Cardinals traded David Freese to the Angels, he came over with Grichuk in what has been a very good trade for Mike Matheny's ball club. And also put a little bit of heat on John Jay, and Jay has responded. It looked like he might lose the center field job, but he's come back and had a good year. Bunts it up the first base line, hard and foul. Bob Davidson, the first base umpire down there, indicating foul ball. Let's take a look now at our AT&T fan photo. Brandon Webb, who will be in the booth with us in the next half inning, has worked diligently to select the following photo as our AT&T fan photo winner tonight. And it's Buffy and the whole gang. That's a winner right there. I can see why Webby went with this, Candy. You got the D-backs logo. You got a lot of people having fun at the ballpark here at Chase Field. That's a winner. And there is Webby with our very own Dennis Lamb up in our booth.
We got the guys' night out.
And Brandon will be here in the next half inning.
Buffy.
Nice job, Buffy. And thanks to all of you who tweeted in your fan photo, brought to us by AT&T. 0-2 to Borges. They'll keep Wong close at first.
Lamb still playing way up at third base.
Trumbo holding Wong on. Misses there. A ball and 2 strikes.
I don't know where that missed. That's a great pitch.
Yeah, Jerry Meals, the crew chief of the plate umpire, wouldn't bite.
Tell you what, watch Montero's glove. Does he move it? I don't even think he moves it. And that ball, according to Fox Tracks, really catches a little bit of it.
That's out of play. Could you hit? Were you a hitter?
How do you qualify that?
Could you? I mean,
I got some hits.
They're
yes.
hitting for the pitcher. Could you get the bat on the ball?
Yes. Yeah, and that's one thing. When I came over from the American League to the National League, for I think all of spring training, all I did was bunt. I had to even go down to minor league games the days I wouldn't pitch, and I had to lead off every inning just to bunt.
No kidding.
I had to bunt like crazy. So once you got the trust of the manager, in that case it was Lasorda, he wouldn't yell at me anymore. I'd get the bunt down. And then even once in a while, I'd get a little pinch hit the bunt, which is all right. And then as long as the guy didn't throw me any curveballs or sliders, I could get the bat on the ball.
Just throw it straight. That's all I ask.
Just throw me an outside fastball. I'll hit a ground ball to second base.
What we're looking for. Move him along. 2-2 to Borges sitting for the pitcher. Perez bounces that one. It's full 3-2.
Nice block that time by Montero, who's really good at blocking pitches to the glove hand side. He moves over that way very well. He was going to backhand that ball, and see, then he moved his body and got it. Going the other way, he struggles a little bit to the backhand side.
Why would that be?
Well, I just think that he thinks he can backhand that ball. It's easier to move your body, towards your glove.
Back.
But when you watch guys that are really good, defensively, a guy like Molina, let's say, that guy's as good as anybody I've ever seen blocking balls. I mean, you can't get a ball by him when there's a guy in third base.
By the way, we have looked it up. You are a career 117 hitter.
Now, see, there you go. I'm on the interstate.
71 strikeouts. That's a lot.
That wasn't that bad.
Perez loses the pinch hitter Borges, and the Cardinals have 2 on, nobody out here in the 7th. Hey fans, the most popular way to follow the pennant races is with MLB.com at bat. It's the #1 app for live baseball. You'll enjoy live look-ins, replay reviews, live radio broadcasts, scores, the MLB.TV game of the day, and a whole lot more. Just get at bat for your smartphone or your tablet on the App Store, or visit MLB.com.
It's funny about that. We were just in Minnesota, and Kent Herbeck stopped up in the booth. And so as we were talking, he could recite every one of his stats as a player. He even told me how many stolen bases he had.
Herbie?
Yeah. He had 39 stolen bases. He could probably tell you how many stolen bases he had on me. I could not tell you what my batting average was. I know now.
Well, we're here for you. All right, Oliver Perez in a mess. He's given up a single and a walk. 2 on, no outs for Carpenter, who singled and scored his last time up. An all-star this year for the second year in a row, Matt Carpenter. Last year led the National League in hits, batted .318. He's down in the 270s this year. Play on at second. And Wong is back in time.
Timing play that time. Nicely done right there between Perez and Didi. You see him dancing around out there to the inside move. He almost gets him.
They had Colton Wong going the wrong way there.
Yeah. I think that'll be the next move. They've already banned the fake to third, throw to first. I think the inside move is going to be the next one they ban.
You think that's an attempt to deceive the runner?
Yes.
Okay.
And I'm a pitcher.
I'll take your word for
fair.
it. You guys do seem to have a lot of advantages. Montero throws down to second, and it's into center field. An errant throw from Miguel Montero to Didi Gregorius, who was moving toward the second base bag, and Miggy threw it to the third base side. And the Cardinal runners get a free base. Second and third down, nobody out.
Well, not a good play this time. Miggy gets the ball down and in, he comes up. Not a good throw. Really doesn't step into it. And that throw goes way on the shortstop side. Didi's over to the bag. He's got a backtrack, dives, gets a little piece of it, but not enough to stop it. And that's a big error right now, and it puts 2 guys in scoring position.
E2, the error on the Diamondback catcher. So it's Wong at third. Borges with great speed at second. Nobody out. And a 1-0 count to Matt Carpenter. Diamondback infield will come in. There's a strike, 1-1.
Well, as a pitcher in a situation like this, this is where you really try to strike a guy out. We had a tough customer up there in Carpenter, but there's sometimes where you try to make your pitches. There's other times where you try to strike a guy out. This is one of those times.
You've got very good speed on the bases in Wong and Borges, so anything on the ground has a good chance to advance the runners if they both take off. 1-1. There it is, knocked down by Perez, and Ahmed has one play, shovel pass to get Carpenter, but Wong comes in and scores to make it 5-2.
Now, it's probably unfortunate that time. Ali Perez, this ball's hit, and it looks like Ahmed's going to be able to at least probably backhand this ball, and they might have had a play at the plate. And he dives off the mound. No one is infield's in like that, and he deflects the ball. If this doesn't, Ahmed probably backhands this ball. They may have to play at the plate.
Borges, the runner at third. Still only 1 out. Infield still in for Jay. A little bleeder that drops in for an RBI single. 6-2 Cardinals. Jay's 2 for 4.
Well, he said he's been swinging a hop out there, and sometimes sign of championship teams or offenses that really take their best at bats late in the game, and that's a pretty tough pitch inside out of that ball. We saw Molina do it before on a curveball, letting that ball travel, hitting that ball to right field. Just these little things like that you see championship teams do.
Yeah, Jay hitting better than .320 since the All-Star break. He's at first. St. Louis with 3 in the 6th, now 2 in the 7th. They lead at 6-2. And here's Holiday, who walked in the 4th. He's 0 for 2.
Slider just missed down and in. See, this is the guy you really got to keep the ball in tight on his hands, about hand high up. Very strong. You can hit the ball out of any ballpark. You don't want to let this guy extend his arms. You got to make him aware of the inside pitch first before you can go away.
14 home runs since the All-Star break, and 9 straight seasons with at least 20.
Probably the nicest guy in the world, but when you look at him, looks like he can break you. Looks like Drago.
I must break you. 6'4", 250, Matt Holliday. He's a handful, and he's ahead 2-0. Not an effective outing here for Ali Perez. He's behind 3-0. Matt Holliday, 9 straight seasons of at least 20 home runs. He's had 90 RBIs in 7 of his last 9 seasons. He puts it on a pretty good list. Hold on there, Matt. Nope, that's strike 1. Sorry.
I thought it was a pretty good pitch.
Jerry Meals thought so.
It was down a little bit, but it was a good low strike to me. That's what this pitch is. Oh, it's a great pitch.
He thought it was below the knees, but Jerry Meals, the crew chief, thought it caught the knees for the low strike. 3-1 now. There's your ball 4. Well, Oliver Perez has given up 2 base hits. He has walked 2, given up an RBI ground out as well. The throwing error by Montero didn't help, but it's been a rough 7th here for the D-backs left-hander. And here's Mike Harkey.
Yeah, I mean, there's one thing giving up the hits, but again, we talk about the walks. You just can't defend a walk. And in a walk in that situation, that's one of those bad walks.
Well, they've had Matt Stites throwing in the Diamondback bullpen, but with the left hand hitting Matt Adams coming up, they'll let Oliver Perez work the Cardinal cleanup man. As Stites continues to throw.
I'm guessing this will probably be his last guy. Hopefully they can get that ground ball double play. Middle infielders playing deep right now.
Greg Garcia will run for Holliday. Matt Adams walked in the 2nd, singled his last time up in the 6th. He has scored twice. There's a strike, 0-1.
Right now, D-backs down by 4 runs. One big swing of the bat here, and this game can get away from us. This is a big batter right now for Perez.
Big city. Oh, 0-2. He has just not driven in runs the way they have needed him to, especially in the cleanup spot. I think only 209 with runners in scoring position.
A lot different than the previous year.
Jay at 2nd. Garcia is the pinch runner at 1st. 0-2 to Matt Adams. Missed inside there, ball and 2 strikes.
If he was diving any kind of bit right there, he would have ran into that one.
Matt Adams has had a difficult second half. He hit .329 during the first half of the year, but he's 100 points below that pace since the All-Star break. Only 4 home runs. Chases that one and strikes out. 2 down. Here comes Alan Trammell. He's going to go to the right-hander Stites to face Peralta.
We kind of figured that would be his last batter to face right there. Trammell just kind of bringing in the right-hander to face the righty.
And so Oliver Perez leaves responsible for 2 base runners. Here comes Matt Stites back after this. On Fox Sports Arizona is brought to you in part by Lone Butte Casino. You're in for more winning moments at Lone Butte Casino. And by Cox Communications. Bundle and save with Cox. Chase Field, downtown Phoenix. Steve Berthume, Tom Candiotti, Cindy Brunson with you. D-backs trailing the Cardinals 6-2, and St. Louis threatening more here. Matt Stites inherits a 2-on, 2-out mess in the 7th. His 37th appearance of the year, the rookie right-hander. He's got John Jay, the runner, at second. Garcia at first. 2 outs, and Johnny Peralta, the hitter. Peralta 2 for 3, a single in the 2nd. And a 2-run double his last time up in the 6th. He's 2 for 3. Strike one.
Comes right in with that slider, that first pitch, and puts it right on the outside part of the plate. Nice pitch.
There's a lot of hope that Matt Stites will be part of the solution here. What have you seen?
Now, I've seen, good and bad. But you're going to see a lot with a young pitcher. Consistency and some inconsistency. I think sometimes he tries to overthrow the ball because he does have a very good arm,
like that,
and a good fastball. And a lot of times when you do that, you tug your front shoulder just like that. And when you tug your front shoulder, only 2 things could happen. You're either going to pull the ball with you like that one, or it's going to sail up and in. So a lot of times it's just really mechanical.
Well, the velocity is certainly there. He throws in the upper 90s. The stuff seems to be there. He's got some movement on his pitches. Peralta gets this up in the air to shallow right field. Playable for Peralta. And Matt Stites comes in and gets the job done. Strands 2 and keeps it a 6-2 ball game. As we head to the bottom of the 7th, CenturyLink, your link to what's next. Brandon Webb in the booth when we come back. Steve Berthume, Tom Candiotti, joined by the former Cy Young winner. A lot going on today. What do you make of it all?
Yeah, there was a lot. I was ready for the Stuart Watson presser, but then the firing of Gibby and Trammell, that was something that came on pretty quick. But yeah, a lot of things, and I think it's said it before today. It's good and bad. It's a little sad. I was a fan of Gibby, but I think it's good for a turnover, fresh start like Tony was talking about. I think a team needs that sometimes.
What's it like in the clubhouse when the manager is fired?
I've been through a couple of them.
Yeah.
It's a down time, and you heard Penny say it earlier in his interview. You create a bond. I mean, a lot of those guys are young. That's the only manager that they've known.
Sure.
They create these bonds with these coaches and managers, and it's tough to see them go.
Candy, what do you think?
Well, I agree with that because I've been through a few managerial changes also, and the hardest thing is that you've got a relationship with this guy who's really helped you through some tough times. He's been there when you've been good, and he's, you know, so you have this guy. Then to see him leave, and really, you really think about it. Here's a guy that was manager of the year just a few years ago, but sometimes you just got to make a change because you're really making a change for the whole organization.
Well, the new pitcher is in for the Cardinals. This is the lefty Sam Freeman. Defensively, some changes behind him. John Jay moves from center over to left to replace Matt Holliday after Holliday was pinch run for, and Borges stays in the game to play center. He'll hit ninth, so Freeman will bat in the pitcher spot, which is now third in the St. Louis order. And Borges hitting ninth.
Webby, give us your assessment on Cahill tonight so far. What would you see there?
I saw some good, some bad, kind of the same thing, and just a little bit of inconsistency, a lot with the fastball. I think for him, he's got to establish a fastball and throw strikes early on the count. I feel like he tries to be a little bit too fine, and he doesn't have to be. I think he needs to, you know, for me being a sinker baller too, I try to aim right down the middle of the plate, try to get ahead early, and make him put the ball in play and trust your defense. And I think the Diamondbacks have a great defense, and he can do that. But he tries to be a little bit too fine, falls behind, then has to bring it back in the zone, and that's where he gets hurt.
You know, you had a lot of the same stuff, really, that he has. You know, the sinker, you had a great changeup, you had a great curveball, a lot like Trevor does. You know, so you're trying to figure out how does he fix that?
Exactly. Adams knocks that almost into right field, and Gregorius is aboard. How does he fix it?
I think it's mostly mechanical. To me, one pitch it'll be perfect. He'll have, you know, a nice little comebacker on the outside part of the plate coming back, and the next one he'll jerk, you know, almost 2 feet outside. He threw a wild pitch. He spiked the fastball, and you know, the runner advanced earlier on, I think, in the second inning. It's just a lot of inconsistency. I think a lot has to do with just mechanics.
Probably a lot of the front shoulder. We were talking about that a little bit. Sometimes you jerk that front shoulder out, you're going to take that ball with you, or else you're going to lose it up and in to a righty.
Absolutely. I mean, pitchers go through the same things. Not just him. It's not just sinker ballers. He gets a lot of rotation. We call it rotational side-to-side movement in his upper body. And when we're going good, I feel like you're working over top the ball and down through it. He works a lot on the side of the ball, and that's where he gets the inconsistency with his hand position on the ball, and you know, where he jerks that ball 2 or 3 feet outside sometimes.
Have you ever talked to Trevor Cahill about his issues?
I have not.
Would you do that?
Absolutely.
That's something maybe we should look into.
I've thrown it out there.
Have you?
I have.
Okay. Because that seems like a natural.
I mean, really, when you watch that, and I've watched, you know, Webby throw a lot of his games, and same with Cahill, and they're very similar, you know, type of pitchers. Well, although Webby hardly walked anybody.
Well, get you two guys just in a room together and have a conversation. That might be really helpful.
Just get the roommates going on the road, go on a couple road trips.
You want to come? That'd be fun.
Let's do it.
I don't want to distract you from your duty selecting our AT&T fan photos here.
That's true. I got to put candies on the thing. I think it's going to be easy on me.
Yeah, you're kind of off the hook, I think, for the rest of the year.
All right.
I think it's been a great year for you.
I do.
And I know when Bob is back tomorrow, he'll probably present you with some sort of certificate or something.
I think I deserve something. There's got to be something that makes this legit.
Hey, are you suggesting it's not? Pennington hitting for the pitchers ahead 3-0. How about Dave Stewart? What an impressive guy he is, huh?
Yeah, I was a little intimidated out there with him.
I bet.
I had to ask him a question. Yeah. No, I like it. I loved watching him as a pitcher. Literally, I think that was like the year '87. He was dominating those years there in Oakland, and that was kind of when I started watching baseball. And he was one of them. Just, you know, I just remember the hat all curled down, you know, super tight and pulled down real low, and just looks like a bulldog out there. Yeah, I love Dave Stewart.
I trust me. I saw it from the other dugout. But very intimidating, like you said, and no nonsense, never cracked a smile. You know, if he saw his catcher talking to the opposing hitter, I guarantee you he would have called him out and probably would have punched him.
Pennington lifts that in the air to left center field. Borges is over there. Didi back to first, 1 away. I mean, you look at Dave Stewart, and you're right. This guy was the epitome of competitor, and that's the look that you're talking about there, right?
just hard fastball split, I believe, right?
Yes.
And yeah, just went right after the hitters.
3 World Series rings, a World Series MVP, 4 20-win seasons with Oakland and with Toronto.
Yeah.
Live for the moment. He lived for the big games. We're talking about his matchups with Roger Clemens, who was, probably the best pitcher in baseball at that time. And when those two would go at it, man, it was you had to watch it.
Ender Inciarte. Does it change anything for the pitchers in this organization, not just at the big league level, knowing that the guy who's making some of the calls here as the senior VP and GM was a very accomplished pitcher? How does that change the dynamic, if at all?
I mean, I hope it does, and because I feel like the pitching was part of the problem this year. Starting pitching was a little bit of the struggle this year for the D-backs, and I'm hoping that having Dave Stewart here is going to, he's going to, be involved maybe with them and help them out in that aspect, or get some guys in, whatever they need to do to get, the top of the rotation guys or whatever to get the job done.
That hits the bag. That's a fair ball, and Gregorius is on the run into third. Didi is in at third, and Ender Inciarte with his third hit tonight. Just a little check swing that went hard up that third base line and hit the bag before it could go foul.
Yeah, that's the ability of just being able to make contact. This ball is tight in on him. Half a swing, dribbles it down to the third base line.
I love the play by Gregorius, running hard all the way around second and gets into third. And Mike Matheny out to the mound.
Tell you what, when you're going good, those things work out for you right there.
Absolutely.
Boy, Ender Inciarte, 3 hits tonight. He's extended his hit streak to 14 games. And Mike Matheny goes back to his bullpen. We're back after this. Brought to you by Arco, a 3-hit night for Ender Inciarte. The hitting streak now at 14 games. He's our top-tier player of the game. Brought to you by Arco. He has hit over 300 since the All-Star break. He has now got, in his last 14 games during the streak, 24 hits. They're on the corners with 1 out for A.J. Pollock. And the new pitcher for the Cardinals, the hard-throwing right-hander Carlos Martinez.
He's not a real big guy, but I mean, he can bring it up there too.
Oh, triple digits.
He's got everything into every pitch. He is completely maximum effort.
Up the middle, off the mound, a difficult hop for Peralta at short, but he gets Pollock. Gregorius scores from third. And it's 6-3.
He made a nice play to rob A.J. Pollock with a hit that time. Looked like he might have broke his bat, but he got it right to the middle part of the field. Peralta, gloved it and flagged him, and very close at first base.
The hop that it takes almost off that rubber maybe, and there's Peralta behind the bag. Inciarte in at second. Gregorius scores to make it 6-3. 2 outs now, and here's David Peralta. Peralta walked in the first. He struck out his last time up, 0 for 2.
He was in such a good groove before and got hurt with that back problem that he had. He's still trying to find the stroke right now.
And missed 12 games with that bad back, and since he's returned from the injury, he's got 2 hits in 16 at bats. And he's behind here, 0-2.
You know, when he was going well, he was not missing any fastballs at all. And he struggled a little bit with the breaking stuff. You know, curveballs and dirt. He's very aggressive up there, and you know, he's not a real selective hitter. And he'll chase balls, and he got to that point where it seemed like he was chasing curveball after curveball in the dirt.
Well, I think you hit on it. When he first came up, he was seeing a lot of fastballs, as most new guys do, and he proved that he can hit it. And then, you know, as he says, when he stopped being a surprise, suddenly it was all breaking pitches, off-speed pitches, and he was diving and chasing.
That video scouting gets out. Forget it.
It's this one up in the air to center. Peter Borges is there. Brandon Webb will see you on Diamondbacks Live after the ball game.
All right, guys. Thank you.
6-3 at Chase as we go to the 8th. As baseball's postseason moves to America's new sports network, Fox Sports 1. Your new home for baseball's National League Division and Championship Series, and it all begins 1 week from tonight, next Friday. Big celebration earlier today at Nationals Park in Washington, D.C. Doug Fister going for the shutout of Miami. Look at the play that Asdrubal Cabrera makes with a runner at third for the final out to preserve Fister's shutout and clinch for the Nationals and their manager Matt Williams the best record in the National League. They will have home field advantage throughout the National League playoffs.
Yeah, I'm sure he's going to take him out for a big steak dinner after that play. That's a great play.
Asdrubal Cabrera, and Doug Fister has been a great acquisition by Mike Rizzo. He has been one of their best pitchers. They've been the best team in the league all year long, and they'll have home field throughout the NL playoffs. Yuri De La Rosa, the left-hander, on for the 8th inning. Here's Yadier Molina. Drove on a run with a sac fly his last time up. D-backs trail at 6-3. They have been out hit 8-7. Diamondbacks led it 2-1 through 5, but St. Louis got 3 in the 6th and 2 in the 7th. And Trevor Cahill had some good spots tonight. He had some good moments, some not so good as well.
Well, you certainly, you know, the good moments are the stuff. The stuff is, again, excellent stuff. Lots of movement. Like Webby was even explaining in here, you know, mechanics. It really seemed to be, you know, really hampered him. being consistent with your mechanics.
I just can't imagine why we haven't had the opportunity yet to have Webby sit down with Trevor anywhere, just the two of them, and have a private discussion about what's going on. I think that would seem to be enormously helpful.
I agree. Have those discussions, but also be included in his side workouts and watch how he throws on the side, because a lot of times you see things and you can explain to people right there. All the good pitching coaches will do that. And especially for Trevor, working from the stretch. That's going to be a big key for him going on, moving on, being effective from the stretch.
Well, he certainly could not have a better source for Trevor Cahill to go to than Brandon Webb.
Yeah, same kind of stuff, same kind of pitcher, really.
Well, De La Rosa has run it full on Molina to open up the 8th. Back with you tomorrow for the second to last game of the year, a 4:30 start for Diamondback Live pregame show. Bob Brenly will be back from San Francisco. BB has the night off. He's at AT&T Park tonight, helping in pregame ceremonies, honoring the great Willie McCovey. Giants clinched a postseason spot last night. Pirates trying to catch these Cardinals for the National League Central and avoid that wild card game as Molina strikes out.
How filthy was this pitch? Molina has trouble handling the ball inside, and he gets this sweeping slider coming down and in. Watch this thing break. He's looking for the ball away, starts to dive, it comes in. He's got no chance.
The back foot slider from the lefty into the righty. It just breaks down and in and almost hits you right in that back foot.
That great pitch.
Randall Grichuk walked in the second, singled in the 5th, struck out his last time up, 1 for 2. 8 hits in his last 20 at bats up there. This is Grichuk's 3rd time up with the Cardinals this year. It's been by far his most productive. 9 games in April and early May, went 3 for 31. He was back up for the first 2 weeks of June, didn't hit then either, 3 for 23. But since he's been back up for this 3rd stretch, he has done nothing but hit, batting over .350 in 25 games.
Well, we saw almost the same kind of thing happen with A.J. Pollock. A.J. was up and down and up and down, and then finally, every time he seemed like he came up, he got a little better, and then finally it stuck and it hit him, and he got it.
Well, when you're drafted 1 spot ahead of Mike Trout, as both A.J. Pollock and Randall Grichuk were, A.J. drafted 7 spots ahead of Grichuk, both drafted ahead of Trout back in that 09 draft. Big things are expected. De La Rosa behind 3-1. Grichuk played most of this season at AAA Memphis, hit about .260 with 25 homers. 3-2.
Good pitch, 3-1. That's a go count for a hitter. He's turning the dial up, looking for a fastball in one area. And this fastball takes off away out in the outside part of the plate. Not a good 3-1 swing. And again, that's growing pains for a youngster.
Just turned 23 years old last month. And the Cardinals, with some of their young outfield talent, one reason why they could trade Alan Craig to the Red Sox like they did at midseason. They have Randall Grichuk here. They have Oscar Taveras, who's on everybody's top prospect list, who has not hit quite the way they thought he might. He's up here as well. They have a player they like, Stephen Piscotty. They got a lot of talent in the outfield, and they could afford to part with Craig to get some pitching in here. De La Rosa strikes him out, 2 down. Our Chaz Roberts air conditioning cool play of the game as Colton Wong comes up. He hit into this double play in the 5th. Nick Ahmed, and they double off the runner. Grichuk at first. Our Chaz Roberts air conditioning cool play of the game. Nick Ahmed, a late addition to the starting lineup after Chris Owings had to be scratched with a sore shoulder. So 2 down for Wong. Singled and scored his last time up. He's 1 for 3. Nick played only a handful of games at second base in the minor leagues this year. they've seen some things they didn't really like from Chris Owings the last couple of games. He's had a lot of strikeouts on that last road trip. Shoulder didn't look quite right, so he got the night off. Yuri De La Rosa has got it working here, 1-1.
Hey, you look at the swing from Wong, too, and this is a little guy. He's hit 12 home runs. But you think this is a guy, oh, he's going to hit the ball on the ground. He's going to drop a bunt down. He could steal a base for you. What's he got, 20 stolen bases? But you watch him load up on that back leg. He loads up, and that's where he gets his power.
Well, they have tinkered with his swing a bit, especially when he was down at AAA in Memphis. They lowered that front leg kick. And actually, as you see that front leg come way up, actually used to be a lot more pronounced than that. And he has worked from a wider base. Look how spread out he is.
Yeah, almost like Matt Davidson when he came with the Diamondbacks, that front leg kick, and they got rid of that completely.
And he bangs it up the middle for a 2-out single. Colton Wong 2 for 4.
Little different swing with 2 strikes and just drills it right up the middle. Yeah, that's a sign of a good hitter. But watch from the side. Hands are down, but that leg comes up. He really loads on that back leg. Now, that was a pitch down and away, just trying to make contact. But earlier in that at-bat, he got a pitch middle in, and he tried to hit it. He tried to drive it out of the ballpark.
Peter Borges. Out of Notre Dame Prep in Scottsdale. Came in as a pinch hitter in the 7th and got a base on balls as Wong is back safely.
Trumbo looked like he was looking in that time to Trammer into the bench. And Montero taking a little visit out to the mound. I think giving him a little time. Looked like he might be going right there.
They had him leaning towards second base. Bob Davidson down there at first as he's back in time. And here comes Alan Trammell. They had Miguel Montero go out to the mound to talk to De La Rosa. And now they are going to challenge and put on the headsets. And again, Tony La Russa told us this earlier this year. They have asked the managers not to come out there and stand next to the umpire just to have a casual chat, waiting for the thumbs up or thumbs down sign. Instead, now they have the catcher go to the mound to stall for time. And once the manager has the yes or no signal, then he goes out onto the field and then informs the umpires that they're challenging the call.
Yeah, and especially with that one right there, Trip Gibson, first base umpire. Tram was jogging out there and said, "You're going to challenge across the field." So Tram says yes. He stops in his tracks, makes a U-turn, and goes back to the dugout.
And so you've got the crew chief with his back to you there. Jerry Meals, the home plate umpire. On the headsets to New York, it's a Diamondback challenge. What do you think of replay?
I kind of like it. I don't like the fact that I really enjoyed watching the game when the managers get upset and they go out there and they lose it a little bit.
You missed that, huh?
I missed that. I really do miss that. Now it's like, there's going to be no argument. We're going to go out there. We'll check it out. We'll have someone check it out, and then we'll see.
Well, that's the thing. The call is made in New York. The umpires on the field have no say in it either way, and so the managers, if they don't like the decision, have no recourse.
Yeah, that's it. End of play, right?
And that's the way it's supposed to be. You can't tell where the hand is definitively from that angle. It's about the best one we got. See if you can see the hand here.
Yeah, I don't know if there's enough to see on that, from what we see anyway.
And again, the call on the field is still important. It has to be evidence that is clear and convincing enough to overturn whatever the call is, either way, safe or out. And if they don't have enough evidence, they will say call stands, and the decision is in here. He is safe at first. So the D-backs lose the challenge. And Colton Wong can stay put at first. Call stands, which means there was not enough clear and convincing evidence to overturn the call. So here's Borges now, 2 outs and Wong the runner at first. Jake Lamb sneaking in from third, a step or two. As we showed you earlier, the Washington Nationals have clinched home field throughout the National League playoffs. The Pirates have one at Cincinnati, which means they're only a half game back of the Cardinals and El Central lead right now. The Cardinals need to win this game to get their lead back up to 1 with 2 to play. Borges drives that to left field. It backs up Inciarte at the wall, and he tracks it down for the final out. And Yuri De La Rosa strands the 2-out single. Bottom 8 coming up in downtown Phoenix. MLB returns to Fox. It's Derek Jeter's final weekend series as the Yankees take on David Ortiz and the Red Sox at Fenway Park, while Andrew McCutchen and the Pirates try to catch up to these Cardinals. They'll take on the Reds on Fox Sports 1. It starts at 9:30 on Fox, 10 o'clock on Fox Sports 1, and streams live on Fox Sports Go. Our Gila River game summary: Trevor Cahill, 4 earned on 6 hits and 5 1/3, walked 3. Michael Wacha had a rough start to the ball game. Diamondbacks scored 2 in the first, but then Wacha settled in, gave up only 2 earned on 5 hits and 5. And as we start the bottom of the 8th here at Chase Field, the D-backs trail it 6-3. Pat Neshek, the herky-jerky sidearmer, is on for Mike Matheny. It's Trumbo, Montero, and Lamb 4, 5, and 6 in the Arizona 8th. A 1.49 ERA. This guy has been outstanding this year. And Trumbo pops it up. Easy play in right center field for Borges one day.
Yeah, we talk about Josh Coleman and the deception that he has in his windup. Well, the same with Neshek. When you watch the way he throws, it looks like he's going to throw sidearm, then he comes over the top, or it looks like he's going to be over the top, then he drops down. Very strange. You don't see anyone else like him with this kind of delivery.
He is very effective and very unusual. The sidearm thing is one thing. It's not quite a submarine like Brad is. It's more right about belt high, but it's that herky-jerky start before he finally unloads.
It almost looks like he's going to come way down under like Brad Ziegler or somebody, but he doesn't. It looks like he starts that way, then he gets back up a little bit higher with his release point.
He has been tremendously effective. Former Minnesota Twin Miguel Montero 1-1 now. Let's take a look.
Well, deception's one thing. Stuff is also another thing that adds to it. See, right there, it looks like he's going to come way down. His upper body then lifts up. His arm lifts up. And then right there, just almost a sidearm delivery. Just a little high sidearm, but he rotates over that ball, and that's where he gets all that movement.
And he, a lot like Brad Ziegler, Pat Neshek, is a huge baseball card guy. Brad is into the baseball cards, and Neshek has quite a collection himself. In fact, he got at one point this winter, he sent me a picture on Twitter, Neshek. he bought a bunch of actual unopened packs of cards from the 80s. You can still find them floating around here. They're the original old packs of bubblegum cards with the gum in there and everything. He had hundreds of them, and he opened them up and put in a box all the gum. And you know, this gum's like 30 years old. Look at the play by Matt Adams at first. It's a fair ball, but off the glove, and Montero's aboard.
Well, I think they still might have had a play on Montero that time.
Neshek a little slow getting over there.
And then Adams really didn't want to throw the ball. Montero really squares up. A line shot, a one-hopper. He knocks it down. He gets to the ball, but he looks first. And Montero, I don't know what kind of route he was running down the line. He was going out, but then he comes back in.
But Neshek was there in time.
Yeah, throw there probably would have got him.
So a chance for the Diamondbacks, a one-out base runner for Jake Lamb, who's 0 for 3. Yeah, so Neshek has this big box of gum that he just had to throw out. I mean, it probably just rotted away the lining of the box that he put it in. Remember, it had that white powder all over it. You'd open it up and you'd have the little stick of pink bubble gum covered in that white powder. Imagine that just sitting in there for 30, 35 years.
Yeah, and this is before they put the little wrapper in the gum, around the gum, too.
Right. It just was on the card, and you'd always have that one card that had that great bubblegum smell that it would retain for half a century. Imagine, you know, taking 4 or 5 pieces of that gum and start chewing away.
Well, you know, we could take over my storage locker, and I guarantee you there's probably 500 boxes of baseball cards over there with the gum in it. So bring them on over. You can take it all away.
I'm coming over there with a truck. Brad Ziegler, also a big memorabilia and baseball card collector. That's foul back, 1-2. Jake Lamb over the last 15 games, batting better than 300. And it's 3 doubles, a triple, a couple of home runs over that span. He has looked better and better.
You know what really impresses me about Jake is the composure that he brings. You know, we talk a lot about Chase Anderson. Great, tremendous composure out on the mound. You don't know what's eating him inside. Jake Lamb, to me, offensively and defensively, is like that. You know, you rarely ever see him panic at all.
Steady.
Very steady, smooth. You know, almost like a nonchalant type of thing, but you don't know what's burning inside. But, you know, on the outside, he could be 0 for 4, he could be 4 for 4, and you're getting the same kind of look.
He's always had a track record throughout his minor league career, a very patient approach at the plate, a knack for getting deep into counts, and a lot of it, just like this, spoiling good pitches, staying alive, extending counts, extending pitch counts.
Tell you what, he's got some pop too. I mean, very quick to the ball right now, very strong with his wrists. Really drove that ball. That ball got, you know, deep in the zone that time and drove it.
And that's something I think he shares with Chris Owings. When Chris Owings first came up, he hit a lot of singles, and it took a while, and eventually CO was driving balls into the gaps for doubles and homers. And there it is. Lamb knocks that into right for a base hit, and the Diamondbacks, with 1 out in the 8th inning, will get the tying run to the plates.
See, I love that approach there with 2 strikes. At 2 strikes, you can't be up there just looking for a fastball to pull. This is a changeup, and he stays on that. You know, if he's looking for a fastball, he's so far out in front of this ball, he's not going to get it. But his angle is to the opposite gap right there, so he's going to hit a fastball that way, and if he gets something off speed, he's going to be able to pull it and still be on it. Great approach.
And think about how many pitches he spoiled in that at bat to get that pitch for the base hit. Nick Ahmed 0 for 3. First and second, 1 out. He's the tying run at the plates. Inside for a ball, 1-0.
I'll tell you, the D-backs can really make this interesting right now. You get a little blooper down that right field line. Something positive here.
That one might drop in center field, and it does. Everybody had to hold up, and so the bases are loaded. Well, Candy, you called that one right into no man's land.
Hey, sometimes you get that feeling. He blooped that one right into short center. I thought he might go down the right field line with it. Way to falls in, and now you got a situation where you got the bases loaded right now with 1 out, and you got a nice little matchup right here working.
Didi Gregorius, and Didi, the bat has really come alive as of late. He is 2 for 3 today. He's got Montero at third, Lamb at second, and Ahmed the tying run at first with 1 out. And Gregorius up there, 2 for 3 tonight. He's got a 7-game hit streak. Ball 1.
Talk about the critical at-bats as the game goes along. Your best at-bats should take place late in the game. Those are usually the crucial situations. This is a great opportunity right now for Didi.
Cardinals desperately need this baseball game. The Pirates have won at Cincinnati. They're only a half game back. Gregorius lifts that ball to very shallow left center, and it drops in. Montero scores. Here comes Lamb. There is no throw.
All right, the bloopers.
Didi Gregorius, 3 for 4. It's a 1-run ball game.
He bloops this ball in the short left center field. A great read by Jake Lamb. And he doesn't hesitate at all because of that great read. He gets around and he scores the second run right there.
Just dropped it into no man's land in that shallow gap in left center over the head of Peralta at shortstop. Everybody held up momentarily except for Lamb, who, as you mentioned, got a terrific read, scored from second, and Didi has made it a 1-run game. And now the pitcher spot is up, and here comes the red-hot Jordan Pacheco. Pacheco, 252 on the year. He has got 8 hits in his last 14 at-bats.
You've got a 1-run game right now, and we saw him the way he was swinging the bat that last road trip, especially in Colorado, hitting a lot of balls out to right center field.
Skies it to left. Jay coming in. Peralta going out. The shortstop has it for the second out.
Boy, he had a good pitch to hit that time. It was a breaking ball. Looked like a slider, but it was about belt high over the middle of the plate. Just got a little bit underneath it. Watch the location of this pitch. Slider. Oh, wow. Molina set up outside. That ball was right down the middle.
Boy, did he hang that one. Nishik really got lucky there. And so with 2 on and now 2 out, it's the red-hot Ender Inciarte already with 3 hits tonight. The hit streak at 14 games. Nick Ahmed with 2 outs is the tying run at second. You bet he's red hot. Didi Gregorius the go-ahead run at first. And Inciarte 3 for 4. Out of play, 0-1.
And it looks like that outfield, especially in left field and center field, playing a little bit shallow. He shoots a line drive. It'll scoot right on through there. That'll clear the bases.
Big crowd of nearly 42,000 here at Chase Field. In the air, left field. This has a chance to get down, and it does. It one-hops the wall. Ender Inciarte, his 4th hit. We're all tied. Diamondbacks did not catch a break at all there. Gregorius would have scored easily. Instead, on the ground rule double, he has to go back to third. And Tom Candiotti, can I interest you in 3 free tacos?
Give them up. I love it.
Tough break for the D-backs, who should be leading the ball game now after Inciarte's 4th hit tonight.
Elevated fastball again over the heart of the plate. Inciarte taking advantage of the left fielder playing very shallow out there, and Wall can't get to that ball. It gets over his head, or Jay can't get to that ball over his head, and like you said, a bad break. That ball bouncing over the fence.
And now with A.J. Pollock up there, we're all tied at 6. Folks in Pittsburgh loving what they're seeing here. They have 1 in Cincinnati. They're only a half game back. D-backs with a chance to play the spoiler roll here to the extreme, but Pollock is down 0-2. Didi Gregorius is at third. Ender Inciarte at second. 3 runs in the inning. Neshek misses a ball and 2 strikes. AJ has walked twice tonight. He has scored a run. He's also got an RBI ground out. He's 0 for 2. He's hit safely in 4 straight and 9 of his last 10.
We're going to work an AJ away for the most part in this game. I expect Molina to keep this ball away from him again. So look away right here.
Popped him up. Colton Wong in shallow right. Diamondbacks strand 2, but they get 3, and we are all tied here through 8 in downtown Phoenix. Didi Gregorius, he's got 3 hits tonight. Ender Inciarte's got 4. It's 6-6. John Mozeliak, his team has to have this ball game. If they lose, they will be tied with the Pirates for the NL Central lead with only 2 games left to play. Pittsburgh 3-1 winners tonight at Great American Ballpark in Cincinnati. The Cardinals started tonight 1 ahead of the Pirates with only 3 to play, and a Pittsburgh win and a St. Louis loss would make them dead even atop the division with 2 to go.
Boy, fun baseball when it gets right down to the very nitty-gritty, isn't it?
How about that? D-backs with 1 in the 7th and 3 in the 8th have made it a 6-6 game. And Addison Reed works to Matt Carpenter to open up the 9th. Jake Lavin on the grass at third. 0-1. 61st appearance of the year for Addison Reed. A 4.40 ERA. Carpenter 1 for 4. He singled and scored in the 6th. That's out of play. 0-2.
Very key to get this first guy. The first guy of the inning when you're a pitcher is so important to get it out.
But this is for Addison Reed a non-save situation. His ERA in these situations near 5.5.
Well, doesn't it seem it's like that for a lot of closers for whatever reason?
I guess that's why they're closers. They need that mindset, right?
I guess. It's even worse when you come in just to get an inning of work, not even in a tight game, right?
Addison Reed rings up Carpenter, and he knew it. 1 down.
Nice pitch with the fastball. Carpenter up there. I guess he thought that ball was going to be down. It looked like it had a lot more of the plate even than Fox Tracks showed.
1 away for John Jay. 2 for 4. A pair of singles. He's got an RBI. He scored a run. He's at 304 on the year. First pitch swinging, drives A.J. Pollock back near the track in center, but he's got room. 2 down. Pitcher spot is here for St. Louis, and we'll see the youngster Oscar Taveras. And this is a guy that they are very, very excited about. Just 22 years old, put up ridiculous numbers in the minor leagues, has enormous raw power. Has not hit quite the way they thought he might this year. 245, only 3 homers. Made his major league debut back on May 31st. Homered off the Giants' Yusmeiro Petit in his second career at bat. But for the year, 3 homers in 77 games and barely slugging over 300. But as we said, he just turned 22 this summer.
Yeah, young kid with, like you said, a lot of raw talent. Make a mistake, he can make you pay big in a big way also. I'd much rather be facing him right now than Matt Holliday.
You better believe it. I saw Oscar Taveras as I was standing behind the batting cage at Kauffman Stadium in Kansas City at the Futures game during All-Star Weekend 2 years ago, hitting home runs off that Royals logo scoreboard they have in deep center field beyond the fountains. He was hitting it off that scoreboard in batting practice.
Just ridiculous power.
Oh boy, the scouts and the talent evaluators, all the people, they were just, it was unbelievable. He had put on an absolute show. And he's ahead in the count 2-1. In the dirt, 3 balls and a strike.
Yeah, it hurts there. That's the slider. He seems like he's been really struggling with that pitch all year long for the most part. Montero wanted this ball away, and he really pulled this ball down and in.
The pitch, for the most part, just did not come with him from Chicago, it seems. It's been a struggle to find it all year long.
Yeah, he just has not really got the feel of that.
3-1 to Taveras. Bounce to first. Trumbo's there. A 1-2-3-9 for Addison Reed, and here come the D-backs. It'll be Peralta, Trumbo, and Montero. 3, 4, and 5 in the Arizona ninth. Hit in 9 at-bats from their 2, 3, and 4 hitters, but the guy's doing all the damage at the top and the bottom. A 4 for 5 night for Ender Inciarte. His hitting streak has been extended to the year now at 14 games, and Didi Gregorius 3 for 4, hitting 8th in the order. Those two guys have done most of the damage here as we start the bottom of the 9th, and the new pitcher for the Cardinals in a game they have to have is the left-hander Marco Gonzalez, just his 9th big league appearance this year. Pirates have won 3-1 at Cincinnati. Cardinals need this game to maintain their 1-game lead atop the division. And Cody Ross will hit for Peralta with a left-hander in there. So it's Ross hitting for David Peralta against the left-hand throwing Gonzalez. Cody 252 and 2 homers.
Cody in this past, he's had some big moments.
You feeling a walk-off here?
Remember those with the Giants, and it seemed like, and even the Red Sox, every time you turn the TV on, you say, oh, there's Cody Ross again with another walk-off.
He was on base twice. Tuesday night at Minnesota, a single and a walk, and he's ahead 3-0.
Well, he'll have the green light right here.
Really?
I believe so. If he gets a pitch he wants, turn him loose. One swing can end this game.
Especially against a left-hander. He does have the green light, but fouls it away.
Had a good pitch to hit. Didn't get it, but
Cody hitting .310 since he came back from the calf injury. 13 hits in 16 games. 11 of them starts. Winning runs aboard.
A leadoff walk.
How many times do those guys come back around and score? If he does here, it's the winning run.
Yeah, boy, you know, you have a young kid on the mound like this in a situation like this where that Cardinal team needs the win.
They got to have the game.
They got to have it. There's a lot of pressure, a little different.
And so they're going to let the left-hander Gonzalez work to Trumbo as Jackson comes in to run for Cody. Brett Jackson, a winning run at first, nobody out. Here's Trumbo. Single in the 6th, drove in a run with a sac fly in the 1st. He's 1 for 3.
Important for Mark just to relax with this situation. Don't jump at it. Let the ball travel a little bit.
Well, Mark Trumbo since August 31st, 18 RBIs in 23 games. 7 doubles and 4 homers over that span. He's been a productive bat this month. 4 career walk-off hits.
That's a good sign. He's been there, done that.
And there's an enormous amount of irony here, considering that it was against the Pittsburgh Pirates that Paul Goldschmidt was lost for the season, hit by that Ernesto Frieri pitch. But the Diamondbacks here can do the Pirates an enormous favor by winning this ball game.
Well, that's a good take. Fastball inside off the plate.
You can see Jay in left field and Borges in center, backed up way back there right near the warning track.
Oh yeah, they're playing no doubles right now.
Look at all that room in left center too.
And the nice thing about that, any blooper, any base hit, Jackson's getting over to third base.
There's a strike, 1-1.
Important to get a good secondary lead in this kind of situation. You get a ground ball, you got to make sure you break up 2.
There's that home run swing we've seen a little too often from Mark lately. He's down 1-2.
Tied him up a little bit. That fastball came in and up about hand high inside.
We saw Mark on the last road trip almost trying to hit home runs all the time. He struck out 7 times in his last 13 at bats on that road trip, and he's down a ball and 2 strikes here.
Well, Mark has the ability to be able to go to all fields, and we've seen him do that this year. He's had some really nice moments hitting that ball to right center.
Well, Mike Matheny rolling the dice a bit here and letting the lefty Gonzalez work to Trumbo, considering he's got 2 lefties coming up in Montero and Lamb. If he can just get Trumbo here, he'll be in pretty good shape matchup-wise.
Well, you're exactly right. That's exactly what he's trying to do. He's rolling those dice. And this is the matchup that he fears right here.
Sky high. Shallow left center. Bermuda triangles out there. It's Peralta.
Well, that was a little fishy out there. That ball was hit up there for a long time. But like you said, those outfielders were playing very deep. They're playing no doubles. And Peralta, I think he was almost expecting to get called off.
He has to go way out there to get this one.
And watch the way he catches the ball. He just kind of snags it.
1 out for Miguel Montero. Miggy 2 for 4. A pair of singles. He's got an RBI. He scored a run.
Now this is where Miggy needs to stay on the ball. You can't pull off here. You're looking to hit this ball to left center field.
There's the ball. 1-0. Lefty versus lefty here. Montero on the year, hitting about 200 against left-hand pitching. And Borges in center field will now shade over toward left center. A lot of room out by the pool for Montero. There's the strike. 1-1.
Well, this is where you just have to be kind of a diver, because they're not going to make a mistake on the inside part of the plate. Fastball is going to be away, just like that last one. You know, if he comes with the slider, that's going to be away. So in Montero's shoes right now, you're looking for that ball out over the plate, trying to hit the ball the other way.
Popped him up again. Peralta again. 2 down.
Little slider outside. He had coverage on it, but got underneath it, dipped a little bit, and popped that ball up.
So if I'm Gonzalez, what am I thinking here in terms of getting out Lamb and getting out of this mess?
I think you're going to work him the same as you did Montero. He's going to keep the ball away from Jake. Try to spot his fastball away. If he gets ahead, then he's going to try to get him out with the slider. And I think Molina, more than anything, is the one in charge of that. I think he's going to work him the same way.
Jake, a single and a run scored his last time up. He's hit in 4 straight and 6 of his last 7. This is bounced in the hole. Carpenter spins and throws, and it's off the bag.
Boy, not a good play at all by Carpenter. Playing deep over there, gloves this ball, throws it across the diamond, but not even close to the first base bag.
He had plenty of time to set himself and make that throw.
He did. Watch his footwork right there. Doesn't really step into it at all. And that throw kind of sails a little bit. It's on the outfield side of first base. Adams just blocks that ball. D-backs got a runner in score position.
An error on that. Carpenter at third. 2 on, 2 out now for Nick Ahmed. Molina to the mound. Ahmed, a single and a run scored his last time up. He's 1 for 4.
Maybe we can call that blooper down the right field line this time.
It's on you, buddy.
Walk-off blooper. I'm all for it, man.
All right, you're down. I'll take that right now. That's for sure. You know they'll like that in Pittsburgh. Brett Jackson, a winning run at second, 2 outs. Lamb aboard at first. Coming our way.
A little longer arm there, you would have grabbed that one.
Beebe dropped one the other day.
He got hurt too, didn't he?
Yeah, he got his fingers sandwiched between the ball and the bricks. Back at Target Field. I thought the governor might make a diving attempt, but since you're in here with us, he's over there by himself. He's got his hands full. 2 balls and a strike to Nick Ahmed.
2 good takes by Ahmed. 2 changeups off the plate away, not even really close. Oh, he's got himself in control of this count right now.
D-backs trying to play spoiler here in the final weekend of the season. 3-1.
3 changeups in a row to Nick Ahmed.
Not biting.
Off the plate away.
If I'm Ahmed, what am I looking for here? 3-1.
Boy, he's not going to give him a fastball down the middle. You've got a left-handed hitter on deck. I don't know if he's pitching around Nick Ahmed. I can't imagine, but it certainly looks like it. Another changeup down and away off the plate.
Bit on that one that time, and it's full.
4 straight changeups.
Look at Fox tracks. He's not coming anywhere near the strike zone here.
Nope.
He's going to rely on Ahmed to get himself out. 2 on, 2 outs, 3 balls, 2 strikes. Winning run at second. Runners on the move, and Ahmed strikes out. We will play extra innings here on a Friday night in downtown Phoenix with the National League Central lead on the line. 6-6 to the 10th we go. By Jack Link's Beef Jerky all season long. Jack Link's Beef Jerky. Feed your wild side. Feed it. 10th inning in downtown Phoenix. Cardinals and Diamondbacks all tied. And the 7th pitcher on the night for Arizona is the rookie right-hander Evan Marshall. Well, Candy, you come over to the TV side helping us out tonight and picked up a pretty good ball game here.
This is a great ball game.
How about this?
You know, we were talking about, the guys that have made an impact, young kids coming up. A lot of times people that we don't mention Evan Marshall enough. He has been excellent.
We'll talk about the finds of this season as Brett Jackson takes over in right field. And Evan Marshall certainly on the list. We talked about the Inciartes, the Peraltas, and those guys. But don't forget about Evan Marshall. He's become so reliable back there, you almost tend to overlook him. And the shift is on for Matt Adams. He belts it to right. Jackson can't get it. It's off the wall. Adams takes the turn and heads for second. He's in there. They put the shift on for Big City, and he almost took it downtown.
That's how you beat the shift. He just hit it over everybody, and that ball luckily had a little topspin to it. Line shot that way. If he gets backspin here, this ball's out of the ballpark. Squares it up. Jackson goes back on this ball, and it's hit so hard he kind of a little bit of a lunge, and it gets over his head, and Adams just struggling to get into second, but he gets in there.
Descalso will come in and run for Adams. He's the go-ahead run with nobody out. Johnny Peralta 2 for 4, a single in the second, a 2-run double in the 6th.
He'll be trying to hit this ball the other way right here. He'll be trying to get Descalso over to third base.
Pirates have won at Cincinnati. They're only a half game behind the Cardinals for the NL Central lead. Base hit. Descalso being waved in by Jose Oquendo. He will score, and it's 7-6.
Boy, nothing cheap about that base hit. Both balls have really been scorched. The one by Adams and this one here by Peralta. just drills this ball to the center part of the field.
Johnny Peralta, 3 for 5. He's got 3 RBIs.
Location of this pitch, fastball, mid-thigh high, drills it that way. Peralta, good fastball hitter.
He has been in a signing that was heavily criticized all over Major League Baseball, considering Peralta was coming off a biogenesis suspension, but that has been a terrific signing for John Mozeliak. Little dribbler by Molina moves Peralta up 90 feet, 1 away. Johnny Peralta got a 4-year, $53 million deal in the offseason, only a few months after he was suspended 50 games in connection with the biogenesis scandal. The most lucrative deal ever for a player suspended for performance-enhancing drugs, but he has been a great success story this year in St. Louis. They're not where they are without him. Randall Grichuk. All 1.
Got to save this run now. Giving up 1 run, you want to keep it right there. You make some good quality pitches. The balls that have been hit this inning have been fastballs and had a lot of the plate.
D-backs in the bottom of the 10th will have Gregorius the pitcher spot and Inciarte 8-9-1. One and 2.
Well, that fastball, he really tugged on this one way out of the zone, down and away, but he went after that ball. Again, when you got a guy throwing really hard out there, you got to turn that dial up a little bit, and sometimes you end up chasing balls that are out of the zone.
12 hits for the Diamondbacks, 11 hits for the Cardinals. Each team has committed 1 error. And he strikes out Grichuk. 2 down.
Yeah, good pitch again. The location of it. Outside, probably a little bit off the plate away. And he gets him to chase. Ball outside, almost a one-hand swing. He had no chance of hitting that ball.
3rd time tonight that the rookie has struck out. 2 down for Colton Wong. He's got a pair of singles. He scored a run. He's 2 for 4. And you've got the right hand hitting Borges coming up, so first base open, they'll walk Wong and work to Borges.
Playing the percentages right here. I like this move. Take the bat out of his hand.
Of course, Kirk Gibson relieved of his duties as D-backs manager today, as has been Alan Trammell, but Tram is here. He will no longer be the bench coach, we're sorry to say, for the Diamondbacks, but he is acting manager this weekend. So Tram, running things from the dugout, elects to walk Wong and work to Borges.
I'm not sure the type of person that Tram is.
First class, absolute first class.
All the way. You know, the Diamondbacks needed him to manage this game, and he's there. And, you know, he's not feeling good about the situation, but he's doing a great job managing the game.
You will not find a better person
Nope.
to work with than Alan Trammell. Peter Borges has walked and flied out 0 for 1.
Starts him off with a breaker ball and a good one.
Borges 2 for his last 21 at the plate. Like he yanked that one a little bit. Would that be what you always refer to as an overthrow?
Well, a lot of times, just watch this, and you know, Webby was talking about this also. Front shoulder, as a right-handed pitcher or a left-handed pitcher, if that front shoulder opens up, which he did right there blatantly, you're going to pull that ball with you. And especially when you're throwing a breaking ball, one or two things can happen. That ball's going to either go down and away, or it's probably going to go up and in, because you can't get that ball out front.
1-1 is in the dirt. Montero keeps it in front.
You'll see a lot of catchers, because they have the best view of that, always pointing to their front shoulder. That's a sign to the pitcher that, hey, you're opening up right there. Stay closed. And a nice block that time by Montero. He's really not really good at blocking to that side of the plate. He did a nice job blocking that one.
Now you mentioned that, much better to his glove side?
He's much better, yes, to his glove side than to his throwing side. But that was to his throwing side. He got over there and deadened that ball. That was an excellent block.
2-1 to Borges. Misses away. 3-1. Close. Trevor Rosenthal would be the 8th Cardinal pitcher of the night. Shortstop Gregorius. He got him at second. Didi Gregorius makes a terrific play to end the top of the 10th, but the Cardinals get one to take the lead. Let's not take a break just yet. Let's see if Mike Matheny wants to challenge this one. And the Cardinal manager is walking out to talk to Jordan Baker at second base.
A great play, nonetheless, by Didi. Backhands this ball going in the hole. His only play is at second base, and he gets the throw over there. Ahmed is right there, stretching out like a first baseman. Hard to tell from our angle if he got in or not, but an excellent play either way.
Well, Matheny is standing out there waiting for the sign, and the Cardinals will challenge the call at second. Headsets are coming on. If he has a chance to give Rosenthal more than a one-run lead in the bottom of the 10th, he's going to do it.
Yeah, nothing really to lose by challenging this one here.
And so Jerry Meals and Jordan Baker put on the headsets. Quick decision. He is out at second. That didn't take very long at all. Call on the field is confirmed, which means they had the clear and convincing evidence they need to support the call on the field. So the Cardinals lead at 7-6. Bottom 10 coming up back after this. For St. Louis to work the bottom of the 10th is Trevor Rosenthal.
Boy, this is, you can't get much more solid than this guy at the very end of the game. He does have 6 blown saves.
44 out of 50, his 72nd appearance of the year, an ERA right at 3 1/4. He'll work initially to the bottom portion of the Diamondback order. Didi Gregorius will lead off the 10th. Tuffy Gozawish is out in the on-deck circle. He would hit for the pitcher, and then it's Ender Inciarte. A pinch ran for Matt Adams after the leadoff double. It was Daniel Descalso. He'll stay in the game and play first base. Didi has been one of the offensive heroes here tonight. 3 for 4, 3 singles. He has scored a run. He's driven in 2. And he gets first crack at Rosenthal. Gregorius has now a 7-game hitting streak. 12 hits in his last 7 games, including 3 doubles and a triple. It's 0-1.
Boy, you better turn the dial up. That one was at 98 miles an hour, about knee high.
Yeah, they got some hard throwers. We've already seen Martinez, and now it's Rosenthal at 99.
This is good old-fashioned Harbaugh when this kid comes in.
Cardinals need this ball game to maintain their 1-game lead over the Pirates atop the NL Central. Off the fist and into center to Borges, 1 away. Tuffy Gozawish will hit for the pitcher. Tuffy has hit safely in 4 straight games and 5 of his last 6. He's got 3 doubles over that span. The bat has really come around as of late. He's at 232 on the year, having a nice finish to his season. He's hitting over 290 here in September. So Gozawish with 1 out in the 10th hits for the pitcher.
Okay, every time Tuffy comes into a game, it just seems like he does something.
I agree.
He's going to battle you. That's one thing.
The bat has been a lot more active lately. There's a strike, 0-1, 98. Inciarte on deck. .100, 0-2.
That's a C note, and that's not straight either. That ball's got some movement.
That ain't fair.
Well, when you, as a pitcher, when you see a swing like that, you're coming right back with it. You're not messing around.
Why would you?
Nope. Well, you think he's not pumped up right now, Rosenthal.
He knows what's on the line. There's a bounce at first, backhanded by Descalso, calls Rosenthal off, and that's the 2nd out.
Descalso, I tell you, he's a jack of all trades. He can play second, short, third for you, play first base. He backhanded that ball, and he got over there very quickly.
Well, here's the Diamondbacks' most effective hitter as of late. It's Ender Inciarte. He's got 4 hits tonight and a 14-game hitting streak. 3 singles and a double. He has scored a run. He's driven in 2. Cardinal fans here on their feet. Nearly 42,000 on hand tonight at Chase Field. A St. Louis win means the Cardinals will lead the Pirates by 1 game atop the NL Central with 2 to play. Inciarte, Jay has it, and that's the ball game. The Cardinals take it 7-6. Tenth inning, Johnny Peralta comes up with the game's big hit following the Matt Adams double. Descalso came in to run, and he came around with what turned out to be the winning run. Johnny Peralta, 3 hits, 3 RBIs, our APS Energy All-Star. And Candy, was nice for the Diamondbacks and will be for the rest of this weekend here to be involved in games that really, really matter. And you see what it means to the Cardinals here to stay 1 up on Pittsburgh with 2 to play.
Yeah, I thought they played a great game. You know, they came out on the short end of things right there. But, you know, I thought the crowd really enjoyed it. It was a very entertaining game. You know, and games like this are really good for the development of young players, too, getting in situations like this.
Diamondbacks out-hit the Cardinals 12-11, but St. Louis takes it 7-6-10. Let's start the Diamondback Live postgame show now. Brandon Webb is standing by with Jody Jackson. Jody.
Thanks, Steve and Tom. Yeah, we are getting set for our postgame show, Diamondbacks Live, presented by CenturyLink. And Brandon, the Diamondbacks were down 6-2 in this game. What did you like about the fight they displayed?
Well, that's the thing. They came out and they scored a couple runs early off Waka. End up losing that lead, and we're down 6-2 going to the bottom of the 8th. But they were able to fight back. They got some good swings, and Ciarte got something going again, and they ended up tying it up, but lost it late.
Yeah, lost it late against a Cardinals team, as the guys pointed out, that really needs these victories. They are a game up, though, on the Pirates with 2 to play. Stay tuned. Reaction from the clubhouse. Cindy Brunson will have that, as well as Alan Trammell's press conference tonight, as the D-backs undergo a bunch of changes earlier today. The final on the field, 7-6. They lose to the Cardinals.